conference meeting this 15th day of December of 2020. Thank you all for being here. I apologize for the delay, but we just concluded a joint meeting with the county regarding the Joint Government Center. With having said that, let me introduce the meeting with some opening remarks. The City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting commission meetings in both a virtual and in-person format. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission virtually is required to complete the virtual speaker card. Any member of the public that is interested in speaking before the commission in person may sign up to speak at the meeting or by using the virtual speaker card. Due to COVID-19 distance requirements, there's very limited seating available. Therefore, we are encouraging members of the public to participate virtually when possible. The public will be able to listen to and view the commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV. Also on www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, all spelled out, as well as on Comcast channel 78 and AT&T UVerse channel 99. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please click on the link below, and that link is bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. I'll repeat that. That's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. So I only see the picture of Vice Mayor Glassman. Do we have full attendance here? Commissioner Sorensen, we don't have your picture. I see Commissioner McKenzie's picture. Commissioner Sorensen seems to be.
I'm here. I'm at a water main break, so I won't have the video on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You're the second person today that told me their water main broke, which is really weird. And Commissioner Moritas, have you had a chance to? Commissioner Moritas. All right, well, we'll begin and start the meeting. She'll be here shortly. So I don't have my laptop with my computer with me, so I don't know what the communications of the City Commission are.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we have one today, and I'm waiting on a charger as well, but it's from the Budget Advisory Board. It speaks to the fact that the Budget Advisory Board would like to have a joint meeting with the Commission when they do their goal setting session to discuss the funding of nonprofits.
When we do our goal setting session?
Correct. When you do yours, that's part of the discussion. Mr. Donaldson is here, the chair of BAB, to address any questions you may have of that communication.
Does anyone have any questions of Brian Donaldson? I see Commissioner Moritas has now joined our meeting. Any questions of Brian? I think it's a great idea, Brian. And so when we do our scheduling, that would be great because obviously the goals have to be realistic in terms of the budget. So, and the Budget Advisory Committee will have to loosen its purse strings. So, okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions of the on this item?
Did I leave anything out, Brian? I think that was it.
Okay, I just want to see everyone's friendly face. Okay, there we go. All right, so why don't we move on to the City Commission reports? We'll start with Commissioner Moritas. So are you free to begin your commission reports?
I am free. I don't have a report. Thank you, Mayor.
No reports today? You went to the White House. How can you not report about that?
Sorry.
You're fine. Okay. Okay. Vice Mayor Glassman. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hopefully you should have reminded some of our county colleagues that today we might have been done a little earlier, but that's okay. Mayor, I just wanted to mention before I get started that a person who was very active on the beach recently passed away, Ron McGuire from Jackson Tower. Unfortunately, he suffered a brain aneurysm. I believe Ron was the president of Jackson Tower for a while. He was very involved in the Las Olas Marina project, came to a lot of our meetings. And I just wanted to extend sympathy and condolence to Barbara McGuire, his wife, and his whole family. This recently, I think this just happened on the weekend, actually.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yes, so that's a loss for the beach, and I wanted to just mention that Ron was very helpful in a lot of projects. So just wanted to mention that before I got started.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we can have a moment of silence for him this evening, if that's possible. I'm sure everybody read that there was a deadly car accident this past Friday at Northeast 3rd Avenue and Northeast 6th Street. I wanted to find out from Chris if when we have such a high rate of accidents somewhere, we figure out that we need to do something. I believe this was 7 crashes there since March. Also, I wanted to mention I've been getting complaints like that from Victoria Park neighborhood, especially around Northeast 16th Avenue and Northeast 5th Street. Actually, 5th Street all the way from Federal to 17th Avenue. There have been many crashes at those intersections. Some of them have 4-way stops, some don't, some have one. It's just such a haphazard system of stop signs. But Chris, when we start to amass a really high number of accidents, do we figure out that maybe something's wrong and we need to do something?
Yeah, so we track crash data, and that's a fairly large intersection that's signal controlled. So we'd have to look at each of the accidents and compare them with each other to see if there's something that's consistent or a theme that we can do something with from an engineering or transportation perspective to make better. I can ask our transportation and mobility department to assemble the data around those 7 that you mentioned since March, and we can report back if there's any themes to them or anything we can do differently at that particular intersection. With respect to Victoria Park, yes, a lot of those right now with the closure of 6th Street because of the sewer pipe work, that has diverted a lot of the traffic 1 block south to 5th Street, so 5th and 16th Ave. I am very familiar with that intersection and actually familiar with most of them on 5th Street as you go west to east. And so as we discussed yesterday, I'll ask our transportation folks to look at those intersections too, to make sure that they are with the correct stop signs and that stop signs are warranted where they are, and that and we don't have any missing ones that might convert some of those 2-way stops into 4s. So we will be happy to take a look at that.
Okay, great. I think that would be really very helpful, and we'll be happy to also forward from our office some of those other intersection addresses as well.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Has the neighborhood come forward to you and he made any suggestions? I mean, there is a traffic light there. So are they just running the lights? Has the neighborhood said what they think might be the cause and possible corrective measures we might take, or are we not there yet?
Mayor, I'm sorry, are you talking about the Northeast 3rd and 16th and
Yes.
5th Street and Flagler?
Yeah.
No, I have not heard those kinds of suggestions. No, but I just know that we have noticed that the records show that there's been 7 crashes there since March.
Okay.
That's high. I wanted to mention there was an article in the paper the other day about the county. I think they haven't finalized it, but they're close to finalizing Juneteenth as a paid holiday in the city. I know that in the past I've mentioned President's Day, which is a national holiday. I don't believe Juneteenth is a national holiday, but maybe we can start to re-examine the holidays. I think also when I look at the county holidays, they do something interesting. They just do a half a day for New Year's Eve. They do a half a day for Christmas Eve. And this gives them a little bit more flexibility in terms of other holidays, because they do celebrate President's Day at the county. But now they're going to be adding Juneteenth. So I just thought maybe at some point in time, we might want to have an agenda item on a conference meeting and look at holidays and schedule. Just want to throw that out in light of that article about the Juneteenth holiday from the county. Moving right along. Let's see. I'm looking down some other comments. I did read another article in the newspaper, and I think Alan might talk to us about this, but we're aware of the fact that our human rights anti-discrimination ordinance has language about conversion therapy. And we recently saw a court ruling that was kind of surprising, but now there is a suit to make them reconsider that ruling. And I am hoping that as a city, we sign on with an amicus brief in that. Mayor, I don't know, but your screen just went blue, but maybe you're back again. Okay, so I just was hoping that maybe Alan could address that as well. And then very quickly, I just wanted to mention that it has been a good, I'm sorry?
Let's talk about that.
Okay,
I think the city attorney has wanted us to discuss this at our conference meeting, which we can do right now. The story behind this is that several months ago, the city of Fort Lauderdale passed a non-discrimination ordinance, which included a provision there which said that conversion therapy would not be permitted in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Any practice that was consistent with that type of therapy would not be permitted. And the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal court, decided that that's not something that a government authority can preclude, and therefore they indicated that that law would be invalid, that aspect of the law, since there's severability. And so the question is being asked of us: do we want to join in the appeal of that particular decision and join in the appeal that I think was initiated by the city of Orlando? Was it?
No, city of Boca Raton and actually Palm Beach County have the same ban that we do, and they were challenged, and ultimately, as you correctly stated, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals found it to be unconstitutional as a violation of the First Amendment. So a brief actually is due Friday, but there's an amicus. There's an amicus brief that's also going to be filed, which means a friend of the court brief. And various municipalities and governmental entities that currently have such bans are joining in. So as the Vice Mayor correctly stated, it was my intent to seek your consensus today to go ahead and join that amicus brief so that our name can be added to the appeal.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that? I would be definitely in favor of our participating in that. Anybody else have any thoughts? Do we have a consensus to allow the city attorney to move forward on that? Okay.
yes, for me.
Yeah. Okay. So there seems to be a consensus. So, so please consider Fort Lauderdale interested in doing an amicus brief.
Yes, from Sorensen too.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I've had some questions recently from folks in different neighborhoods about Parks Bond movement moving forward. I think they think that there was at one time a website that was going to be promised about where we are in that process and how neighborhoods are going to be getting more outreach on how they can weigh in on what they liked in the master plan that was the basis of that bond and what they think needs to still happen, what does not need to happen, maybe throw some new things in there. So they're looking for a website. They're looking for a little bit more communication in terms of where we are with the Parks Bond.
So Vice Mayor, we've got Phil Thornburg here in the chambers. Let me ask him to go to the podium and respond to your question.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor. So actually, we are in the process of finalizing the website for exactly what you mentioned. It will be up for public comment starting February 1st and will be open the entire month of February. So our outreach to the neighborhoods and to the HOAs and everything will start right after the first of the year. As far as how to access that, we also have banners that are be going out around to the parks to show the access with the website. There's also going to be inserts into them to the water bill So there'll be probably too much information going out right after the first year as far as the website goes. And then again, on February 1st, it will open up for 30 days for everybody to start to give their input. So AECom has been working very hard to make this all virtual now with what's going on. So all of the 100 and some parks that we're going to be working on will be on this website, and everyone will be able to see what was envisioned at the time, the budget dollars, and then there's an opportunity for them to also make comments on that or any other thoughts they may have.
Great. That'll be very helpful. Thank you for that update, Phil. Appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone will start to read all that, and we'll let people know if you put together some sort of a flyer or whatever. We'll be very happy to get that out as well. So thank you. Chris, I've been hearing over the last few months a lot of chatter about what's going on with the rezoning plan for the Central City and the Central City CRA board not meeting too much, and people are just like saying, come on, let's kick it up a little bit and get that Central City CRA board moving a little bit, and also the rezoning project that seems to have stalled. Is Corradino going to be hitting the ground running rather soon, and are we going to expect some activity with that?
So we've got Anthony Fajardo here in the chambers. I'll let him address the Central City's zoning, and as we discussed yesterday, I will engage the CRA to talk about the Central City board.
Mr. Fajardo, how are you?
I'm good, Mayor. Thank you. Anthony Fajardo, City of Fort Lauderdale Sustainable Development. So the steps that need to be taken require a land use amendment as well as zoning changes, as we're all aware. A lot of that groundwork had been put into place by staff as well as the previous consultant before they departed the project. So in terms of what has to happen next, that's all been mapped out. It would just take the resources to start moving forward with that next step in the process, which will still include some public outreach and going through the amendment to the comp plan as well as zoning changes.
But Anthony, this thing has been going on for several years and has gone out to the community multiple times. What other additional public outreach are we seeking to do that's going to, what is required of us that we haven't already done, I guess is the question.
So I apologize, Mayor. The CRA would be better equipped to answer that. I wasn't involved in what public outreach has taken place. I'm just making an assumption based on what the conversations that have been in the past. If they've already reached out to the public and everyone has an understanding of what's going on, then it's just a matter of completing the steps for the comp plan amendment and the zoning change.
Vice Mayor, am I correct in making that statement?
Yes, you're very correct. But then it did stall when we, the initial consultant, there were some issues there, and that relationship ended before they were able to, wrap it all up and bring something to the commission. So there was a final piece that didn't happen in terms of just tying it all up and getting it to us. So, but that's been a while now. So, and then also I was hearing people wondering why the actual Central City CRA board hasn't met in a while, and what's going on there. So that's why I brought those two issues up.
So what are our next steps then?
Well, we already have the consultant, I believe, and Clarence's group is working with them on getting them started. I don't have an update on that particular aspect of it, but I believe everything's been put in place for it to start moving forward.
Okay, good. Well, there are a lot of people anxious to get it rolling. So thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So can I chime in for a moment?
Yes.
Can I chime in?
Yes, Commissioner McKenzie.
And I guess I just want a clarification. CRA is responsible for what part of it? Public outreach?
The CRA is managing the project itself. So they were doing it along with the consultant and input from Department of Sustainable Development. So all the project management was coming out of the CRA. We do have a staff person that's dedicated to assisting the CRA. And then we provide review and comment on any of the documentation.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Who does the land use and the rezoning piece? Is that CRA or is that, no, it doesn't, because I'm still trying to figure out something. I know they're spearheading the process, but when it comes to land use and zoning changes, that comes out of your department. Am I correct?
It does for the process. So what the consultant was hired to do
You-
is
you're
actually
being- you're
fulfill
muffled.
that process. I'm sorry.
Commissioner, we couldn't hear you.
I didn't say
Commissioner
that, but he's
McKenzie?
muffled. I'm
Can
here.
He's muffled.
Can you hear me now?
You were muffled. I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear me now. So
Yes.
the consultant was hired to actually take the paperwork through the process and finish any of the public outreach that we need to do. You're absolutely correct. Our department handles that process and manages the process. So the consultant would come through our department. It would be an application just like any other, and we process it to the Planning and Zoning Board, City Commission, and on to the county for any of the land use amendment changes. So we'll be involved at that stage. We're just not at that stage yet.
Okay, I just wanted that to be clarified so that, we know, I know CRA's to handle the process with the consultant, but when it comes down to what the vice mayor and the mayor are speaking to in terms of it happening, that comes out of DSD and then it goes through those steps you just mentioned to us.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think before we move on, I've got a note here that Tarlisha has an update as well. So let's bring her to this discussion.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Just a follow up regarding. Am I getting?
You got feedback, Tarlisha.
Problems here. What's going on?
1 second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Just to follow up, I know Vice Mayor Glassman, you had some questions regarding the dates, the meeting dates. There were a total of 5 meetings held this year and 7 were canceled. Those 7 were canceled based on the pandemic, the governor's order that we had earlier this summer when we could not have meetings for the advisory boards. We have the, let me see, and 2 or 3 of the meetings were canceled due to lack of business. But there were a total of 5 meetings held this year. And actually with the Corradino Group, the contract was signed in late October. And there's a kickoff meeting taking place on December 17th.
Yeah, lack of business always sounds strange to me, but
Can you hear me?
that 2 meetings were canceled due to lack of business.
Yes, 3 meetings were canceled due to lack of business. Clarence, would you like to address that? And are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not that there's a lack of business. There was no new updates. The 3 projects that we have in Central City are projects that are, there's not a whole lot of movement on those projects from month to month. We're talking about the Northeast 4th Avenue project where we are working with TAM. They're giving us some help on the project management side, and we're working to get that project actually going where we'll see progress on it, hopefully from month to month. And then when we talk about the rezoning project, for a while, we were dealing with the bidding of getting a new consultant in. We finally got that new consultant in. And while we weren't having our regularly scheduled advisory board meetings, we were speaking with members of the advisory board as well as the Central City Alliance. So just keeping them updated on where we are in the process for getting new consultant on, which is the Corradino Group, which we now have on board. And as Tarlisha mentioned, we'll have a notice to proceed, and we're getting started. We actually met with DSD and the city attorney's office, and we have a game plan on where we're going with that whole project. So we will be having our regular recurring meetings every month, unless there is some reason to cancel it. even if it's just giving updates on what they've already received as far as information, we will continue to have regular and recurring meetings.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you, Clarence and Tarlisha. Right, and I think maybe even if there's not that much business, just maybe an agenda item for, resident input, or just to see what the temperature is out there, how people are feeling, or if they've had any issues, or, maybe with the CARES Act funding or whatever else might be on their mind. But I just don't want us to get into a habit of canceling too many, meetings due to a lack of, quote, lack of business. But no, I appreciate it though. Thank you for the answers on that.
Understood.
Well, and,
Vice Mayor, the thing is though, the community has been really eager to see this change happen. And so why don't we get a commitment then from staff that it will be on the next agenda and that there will be a notice to the community that this is going to be discussed so that we can accelerate and move forward on this process. Does that sound what you would like to do, Vice Mayor?
Oh, without a doubt, just to even let them know what to expect with Corradino coming on board now in terms of picking up that project where it left off. Yes, without a doubt. Thank you.
Think we can do that, Mr. Woods?
And yes, absolutely, sir. And just to be clear now, we are in touch with members of the advisory board as well as the Central City Alliance, and giving them updated information on where we are in the process, and bringing it back before an actual call meeting, bringing the information back before an actual call meeting.
Well, keep in mind, Clarence, that Central City Alliance, while they are an important collection of people that have an interest in the improvement of the area, they're not the sole representative of that community. And there are certainly plenty of other people to whom we would reach out through a general notice of a meeting and an agenda item specifically to discuss the zoning changes. So just please keep that in mind.
Yeah, and just to be sure, I would certainly keep all of the neighborhood associations along that 13th Street corridor informed with information as well as the Central City. So you've got about 5 neighborhoods on that corridor. So I would certainly make sure we're corresponding with the presidents of each of those neighborhood associations as well. Speaking of one of those neighborhood associations, it wasn't that long ago, although maybe it was, where we had representatives from FPL come to a conference meeting. And I remember specifically saying, it would be so wonderful if you folks could just communicate with neighborhoods and let them know when you're starting work and what you're doing. And I mean, I know that, they have this protection, from the state. It's like they don't have to do anything. They don't have to communicate with anyone. They don't have to tell anybody anything. But, that's not being a good neighbor. So, right now there's work going on in the Middle River Terrace area, undergrounding projects and, other projects from FPL, and no one knows what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Neighbors don't always know what's going on. They ask me what's going on. I don't know why it's so hard to, request from FPL that even though they technically don't have to, it really makes all the sense in the world to be a lot more communicative than they are with regards to projects that are happening in the neighborhoods. That's all I want to say about that. So,
is this with regard to those street lights that keep flickering on 13th Street?
No, that's something different, but that's maybe that's just for the holidays.
No.
No, I know what you're saying. But Chris, what do you think? Is there any way we can convince these people to, communicate a little bit better?
Yeah, so I've passed that feedback along. I too received that information on Saturday from the neighborhood and made Juliet aware of the neighborhood's concerns. I can continue to do that.
No, that'd be great. I don't understand why it's so difficult for them to just do that. It seems like they would want to be, communicative, but I understand. Whatever you can do to put that message out to them over and over, that would be great.
I will. I think in many of the circumstances, it also is because they use such a wide array of subcontractors to do their work. That was the biggest thing we had to work on Saturday, was figure out which sub was working in the neighborhood. I'll continue to provide that information to FPL.
Great. That'd be really helpful. And then
on 13th between the railroad tracks and 15th Avenue were fixed. I'll have to check on. I thought that was back to normal. So
I haven't heard that there's still an issue there. So that must be, so that's really great. With regards to calendar items, it's, even though we've been facing the issues we're facing, there's still activity out there, which is a good thing. After our last meeting, on December 3rd through 5th, I did attend the International LGBTQ Leaders Conference. It was quite interesting with folks from all over the nation, and guest speakers like President-elect Joe Biden. So that was quite informative. Commissioner Sorensen and I met with the Las Olas Mobility Working Group on the 3rd. We have another meeting coming up tomorrow. So we're moving very rapidly. We've got 4 meetings scheduled until we're planning on that plan coming to the City Commission in the second meeting in February, Mayor. So we're on a very fast pace now, tying it all up. And I believe we have those 4 meetings scheduled between now and our second meeting in February. As we all know, Monday, December 7th was Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. On the 8th of December, I did attend the International Swimming Hall of Fame virtual board meeting. And then that evening, Mayor, you were there. What a really nice event for the Taco Craft opening at 510 North Federal Highway. Really a nice vibe in there, and it's a nice outside area if you want to eat outside. So that was a really a nice event. Also that evening was the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association's virtual holiday party, which was a lot of fun. Lewis, what an incredible Santa Claus he makes, and Mary, what an incredible Mrs. Claus she makes. And that was really a very nice, fun evening from the council. On the 9th of December, I attended the 19th annual John and Elizabeth Toy Drive. Many of you will remember that John Weaver, may he rest in peace, was a past president of the Central Beach Alliance. And Elizabeth, his wife, has continued that toy drive that they've done every single year for 19 years, a wonderful event. Also attended that evening briefly the Sailboat Bend Civic Association meeting. Thursday, December 10th, we had a good meeting with TAM and County Transportation regarding the Northeast 3rd Avenue and the FEC crossing. That's been a very dangerous area for quite a while, but there's some good plans coming forward. So I wanted to thank staff for that, and the county for that.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Can I interrupt you for a second? The Sailboat Bend Civic Association meeting, didn't they ask you to leave the meeting because they were going to discuss something? What was that all about?
Well, they actually didn't ask me to leave the meeting. They just sort of, threw me off the meeting. Actually, they didn't ask anything. All of a sudden, Fatima and I got a notice on our screen that said, you've been removed from the meeting, or a host has removed you from the meeting or something. How do you hear all these things, Mayor? Where do you get all your information?
Hey, you know what? So
he's the people's mayor. He hears these things.
Yes, he does. But I will tell you that last night at my District 2 pre-agenda meeting, I did not remove anyone from my pre-agenda meeting on Zoom.
Thank you. You're very open-minded.
Including the folks that were there from Sailboat Bend who threw me off last week. So yes, we are. We're very fair and open to everybody.
What was it that they had to discuss in camera that they, for some reason, felt that you could not hear? I mean, you are their representative.
Mayor, I'm going to let you ask them that question. I scratch my head all the time.
They might throw me off, so I don't want to.
I don't know, but I'll let you have that conversation.
Okay.
I'll just keep on rolling on my end.
Thank you.
But it was a good meeting while I was there. I was able to arrange for Public Works to come and talk about flooding in the neighborhood and some of our approaches on Argyle and other projects that we're doing there with regards to stormwater. So it was a very, I think, informative meeting, and hopefully the neighborhood learned a lot about what we're doing in that neighborhood to deal with stormwater. So I thought that was a good meeting. Plus, they are one of the neighborhoods in the next batch of 7 when it comes to our stormwater plan. Thursday, December 10th, Mayor, you were there at the Las Olas Oceanside Park. What a lovely evening with the menorah lighting ceremony. Thank you so much to Parks and Rec for arranging everything that they did. It was really a lovely evening, a gorgeous night in terms of weather. And it was really lovely. I believe that's actually the city's first public ceremony for Hanukkah. And it was really well done. Mayor, I don't know if you had a chance to have one of those jelly donuts, but oh my gosh, did you have one?
No, I didn't have a jelly donut, although they looked very they look very good. But I will say this, that should you decide to ever retire from the city commission, you have a calling for perhaps going into either being a rabbi or a cantor. I thought your participation was moving, and you certainly were in competition with the other religious folk who were there. So I just want you to be aware of how blessed you made us all feel.
No, thank you for that, Mayor. Well, I was glad I was able to remember my Hebrew for the blessing. See that all those years of Hebrew school, and I guess it paid off. So thank you for those kind words. I thought it was a great night, and who I thought really had a beautiful voice was Rabbi Kaplan's son, who actually sang the third and final blessing that night. He had a beautiful voice. It sounded really great, and amazing how strikingly similar he is to his father, actually. Sunday, December 13th was great. We attended the Mass District Sunnyside Up Market 1-year anniversary. They had a really good crowd, very socially distant. They were, kept coming for 4 hours. People were wearing masks. It was a gorgeous day, Sunday. So that was really, really lovely. And then I scooted over to the 13th Street Holiday Social that evening. Again, another really nice event. Everybody was socially distanced and a really nice spirit there as well. As I mentioned, coming up tomorrow, Commissioner Sorensen and I will have another Los Olas Mobility Working Group, Flagler Villages meeting tomorrow. And by the way, and maybe because they're meeting tomorrow, but I will say I have received word that longtime president of Flagler Village Civic Association, Michelle Nunziata, will be moving out of town. So I publicly wanted to say thank you for all of her service, all of her work on behalf of the Flagler Village Civic Association. She will definitely be missed. So, and I want to wish her all the very best. I believe she's moving to Georgia. Also tomorrow, Eating Poinsettia Heights Civic Association meeting is convening. And Thursday, I will be attending the Bonnet House Board of Directors meeting. Lastly, just wanted to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a happy and a healthy New Year, especially the healthy part. That's it from me, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Commissioner McKenzie, do you have anything to report? Commissioner McKenzie, are you still on the line? I see you're there.
Hey, Mayor, can you come, Mayor?
Yes, I can see you now.
Can you come back to me? I'm in Walmart with the kids. I'll get right back to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Sorensen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate
Do
it.
you need anything at Kmart while the Commissioner McKenzie's there?
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd love to, when he comes back on, I'll ask him.
Some pipe fittings, maybe?
Yeah, some pipe fittings, boots, and a couple Christmas gifts. I'll ask him when he comes on. Thank you. Great. Wanted to, well, happy holidays. First of all, happy Hanukkah to everyone celebrating. Chris, let's start off with this. If you could give us an update in terms of what you're hearing, COVID vaccines, what that rollout's going to look like, any insight you're aware of in the city or the county. Thanks.
Yeah, so I could check with our fire department to see if they've heard anything better than I have, but I've heard exactly what the public has been hearing about Memorial being the first place in Broward County to have started administering that vaccine yesterday. We continue to offer up our existing testing sites as a location to distribute the vaccine. We've heard information from the state that there's a pod system that they intend on implementing for distribution, but that is the extent of my current knowledge on it without having checked to see if our staff has anything more current than that.
What's a pod system?
Look, well, it's just a delivery area. So they would bring a pod to Holiday Park, for example. And
with the refrigeration and all that, so the
presumably.
And Chris, I see Chief's on, and I had a couple of residents said they got emails from some drugstores stating that they'd be, first in line to get vaccines in January. So that's, for what it's worth, that's what I'm hearing through the grapevine.
Yeah, I've read that too. Read that there's going to be a second vaccine available soon after the first of the year, and then a Johnson & Johnson one by February, March. So I'm getting my information the same way that the general public is at this point through the media and other sources. But that's what I know. If Chief Kerr is on and has anything more to offer, we can go to her real quick or see if any of her staff members have anything beyond what I've just reported.
So, I mean, really, there isn't much even clarity from.
Breaking up a little bit, Chief.
You are impossible to hear.
Sorry, it must be our Wi-Fi here. I can't help that.
We can't. You're vibrating and you're echoing.
From what I could pick up, she just said not much else to add, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, great. Mayor, it looks like Santa Claus is back on the line. I don't know if he wants to talk from. Commissioner McKenzie, did you want to jump back in, or do you want me to keep talking?
Go ahead and finish. I'll come back when you're done. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Commish. All right. So that's great. Thanks for the update on COVID. Did you want me to talk about the art fair now or tonight?
Is this?
Let's talk about that now. Is fine.
Okay. So. Mayor, let me just get my notes so I'm making sure I'm articulating everything. So Las Olas Art Fair, so it's scheduled to be to happen January 2nd with COVID protections and so forth. They're asking if it could be delayed until the next weekend, which is January 9th. And the time window to kind of have that formally changed through the regular permitting process is, I think, too narrow. So I wanted to bring that up, Mayor, for consideration.
So, Mr. Mayor, the background there is that the earliest I can bring that back to the commission for a date reconsideration is January 5th. And so we missed the meeting today to be able to make that modification. So I told the commissioner that it would be appropriate at this meeting to just bring up the notion that they wanted to move it by a week and see if there happened to be any vocal objection from any commissioner, recognizing they can't rely upon that change until you actually make the change on January 5th, but that we would have a pretty good sense as to whether or not the commission would object to that 1 week change by bringing it up with the group.
Well, I think there's a larger question that needs to be asked here, and we've hosted it or allowed to be hosted a number of outdoor events in our community in the last couple of months. And concern continues to be raised about whether or not we are inviting the spread of infection through these events. And in particular, the last art show on Las Olas, I received more pictures of people not complying with CDC protocols than any other outdoor event that we permitted to take place in our city. Are we doing the right thing by continuing to allow these events to occur? Are we tempting fate? Should we wait until the vaccine is really making its way through the population? Does anyone have any thoughts on the commission with regard to that?
What was the feed? I think it's a valid concern. What was the feedback? Because this weekend we had the Brazilian festival, right? So how did that go?
Feedback
What's
was
our analysis.
the feedback was very positive. It was overseen by our staff as well as the folks at Riverwalk. I saw many pictures. I didn't go personally, but I saw many pictures from assorted times over the weekend. It was in compliance with the safety plan that they had submitted to the county. And so nothing negative to report.
How many people attended that event, Chris?
That I don't know off the top of my head, but maybe Phil knows who's behind me. Let me turn and see. He is shaking his head that he does not know. I'll have to check, Commissioner, and get back to you with that.
Because my question becomes, and I'm speaking in reference to what the mayor just addressed, which is, if all future events over 100 people are to be vetted by the county, and we all expressed that in our last meeting that we wanted that route to take place, how can we in good faith approve any festivals moving forward?
That certainly is a decision of the commission. There is still the requirement for the safety plan to be submitted and approved by Broward County. So those that come before the commission are not without additional review and scrutiny, but that would be within your policy decision-making authority of the city commission.
So let's go back to what's in what I said, which is, if we can't, by the county, have a gathering of 100 or more people, how can we even accept applications?
Are you suggesting that it go to the county first before they even come to us? That may make sense. You're right.
No, that's what we agreed on the last commission. But what I'm saying is, if the county's ordinance, which supersedes ours, if I'm correct, won't allow us to approve any events in over 100 people without their approval. And it's my understanding they're not approving any events over that amount.
No, they are approving things, aren't they, Chris?
We've had approvals unless their position has changed. They most recently approved the boat show, the air show. They've been in the loop.
Brazilian Festival.
The Brazilian Festival. These all had approvals.
But I thought they got approved before they went into this real lockdown. So I'm just trying to get an understanding, Mayor, just like you were trying to, in terms of what we are allowed to do by the county standards, and then what we can decide as a commission to do moving forward. Because there are lots of festivals that come up at the beginning of the year. I know I'm not contemplating having a Sis Trunk Festival this year, just based on the numbers, and I just don't want to put people at risk. But private promoters come to us, to do these events, and we have to approve them. So I just want to make sure that we, by law, can accept the applications and move them forward.
So, okay, let's get a sense of the commission then.
I have some thoughts, Mayor, also.
Yeah, what do you think?
For an outdoor event, if the event is ticketed, which limits the capacity, and they are committed to submitting a plan where there is social distancing and they're wearing masks, then I think we could keep allowing these outdoor events. Maybe we do need some kind of provision in there which has, I don't want to say security, but has someone enforcing the mask provision or asking guests to leave if they don't have them. It sounds like the events we have had so far have gone well and have not caused a problem. So I think as long as they're meeting that criteria, we should be able to kind of keep moving forward.
Okay. Commissioner Sorensen or Glassman, what do you think?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
No, I agree with that. I just think it's all about the plan and the control and the number of people and the space that the venue has. And I agree, especially with the ticketed item. It has to be just incredibly controlled, or, I think we have to, the projections now, the data, the science have to drive us. It's obviously, this is a tough time. Thankfully, it's not as bad as many places in the country right now, especially with regards to our, hospital capacity. But I think we just have to be very, very, very careful these next few months.
Mayor, yeah. So I think, and I tried to emphasize this with the Brazilian Festival, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong or we don't have this ability, but I think we should be able to, if we approve any event, we should have an immediate turnoff valve that we can immediately flip if we see that, if there's reporting that this is not going well, if our, and so I think that's important for the art fair, and we should be able to act quickly to say, okay, it's not working, you're not enforcing this, so it's now closed.
Well, actually, we do reserve that right, but I always am concerned about, leading people on, and they put in a huge financial and time investment in these events, and then we pull the plug at the last minute. But I think that our city staff.
No, we pull the plug if they breach contract.
Well, I get that. You're right. But sometimes we don't know, they all make promises, and hopefully they all keep to those promises.
Yep. I
would hope that this go around, I don't know who the sponsor is of of this particular art show, but
it's the Las Olas Association,
is it
Jody Tanner, Luke Mormon.
They need to be more responsible. Not that they haven't been, but groups continue to be more responsible with their own ambassadors, their own monitors, going up to people, say, put your mask on. It's not a food event, so there's no reason to pull your mask off. It's an art. We all love going to art shows. I don't think they necessarily, by definition, are a spreader event because they're outdoors. I agree with Commissioner Moritas. They seem to be safer than any indoor event that would happen. But I just want to make sure that, okay, so we've all discussed it. And I guess, we're not really going to wait for the county to make their decision. We're just going to go ahead and do it on our own. And then if the county decides to do it or not do it, then it's on their shoulders. Is that kind of the
Yeah, I mean, really at this point, anything we would do is until such time as the county does not have to approve the safety plan. They don't have to approve the event. They just have to approve the safety plan. But one is contingent upon the other. So,
but it's 100 people or more, so they will be participating in that decision. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So your question, Commissioner Sorensen, is can we move the item over to our second meeting in January?
No, they want to move the event by a week.
Oh, the event.
But by the time I can bring that date change back to the commission, they would have 4 days to react. So, they are doing what you suggested by planning and probably making monetary investments for the next month. If there's a high likelihood that they won't be successful with the approval to move for that week, they probably don't make those investments. Commissioner Vice?
Do you want to do it as a walk-on then tonight?
Phrase that correctly?
Chris, I think you have.
Do you want to do it as a walk-on then, Commissioner Sorensen?
Whatever procedurally makes sense, Chris. I'll defer to Chris on the.
We can either
do you want to do a walk-on?
Could I just walk it on as a motion? That was.
We'll get back to you on that.
Yep. Fine.
Our city attorney is in the thinking mode right now.
Our crack legal team's on it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And my last question, Mayor, just for that topic, Chris, is do you feel like are we able to stop an event if there's not appropriate agreed upon protection happening?
So I'm going to answer that 2 ways. I think we have the legal authority to do it. There are then the actual doing of it is probably something different. So with an event promoter that was cooperating with us, if there was not things in place, I think we are legally protected to be able to go to the event and say the permit is revoked. It would then just become how much of a enforcement effort it would take to actually shut the event down.
Okay. Well, I'd like to, if we do approve this, I want to communicate that with the organizers to make sure we're all clear. Okay, thank you, Chris. So that's for that topic, Mayor. I'm good there. Want to go into the next topic. Let's see, just because I just, such top of mind for me. 5 Ash, Chris, what's next again?
The RFP for owner's rep, I believe, is ready to advertise if it hasn't already. And that would be the next step to move it along. Let me get Raj to join us at the podium, and we'll seek an update from Public
Raj
Works.
is in the house. He's going to step up to the podium and give us an update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioner. Yeah, we are ready to roll out. We are just making 2 more changes, minor changes to the scope. And after that, we will hand over to purchasing and sure to be out on the street. The only concern that we had was that because if we roll it out so close to the holiday season, it might just get lost. So we are still debating whether this is the right time or should we do it first week of January. But for all practical purposes, it's done.
Great. Okay, Raj, and if you could stay up there, just a few other related questions that we had last talked about undergrounding and talked about Harbor Beach and some of the other neighborhoods. I think you were going to engage with Harbor Beach and maybe some other neighborhoods. Any update there?
Yes, yes, Commissioner Sorensen. We are trying to extract the information from what we have in our records. Most of them, they are about 10, 11 years old, so piecing everything together has been a little challenging. but I intended to give personal phone calls to 4 or 5 communities who have shown interest, the homeowners association president, and take it from there. We are also finalizing the typical frequently asked questions and preparing a website so that people can start making applications. So those efforts are in place.
That sounds great. All right. Thank you, Raj. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Chris, can you give us an update on police station?
Yeah, I can. So we are actively engaged at this point with design and site layout and phasing of the construction itself. I saw for the first time some massing images just last week. So it's not certainly architectural at this point, but just how the building would mass on the site. We, in a parallel process, are pursuing the parcel that carves out that notch that we've talked about that you all have taken action on. And that really is where it is at this point is site design and concept layout, which is where we are in the process.
Great. Chris, do you think you could put together like a 1-page just timeline for this? Like what's next and, you know, to completion, just a quick overview that we can understand and share with the community?
Yeah, we have a timeline done, so I'm happy to just share that with you rather than create anything.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Great. Thank you. Excellent. License plate readers. Chief Alvarez, Chris was I think we had a little tough time talking with him last time, but he was I think we were gonna kind of convene a city-wide, you know, meeting or for folks that want to learn more about that.
Yeah, we met on it last week to talk about our city position on it. This is one of those things that I want us to be, you know, I briefed the chief on this last week, want to be careful with that we don't roll this out as a quote city program, but that we work with neighborhoods who want this type of technology to assist them in the right permitting to be able to put cameras or LPRs in their neighborhood. And if they choose to share data with us, then we certainly would welcome it. But we'll, you know, we're forming up that internal process so that we can try to drive costs down for the neighborhood and still be in compliance with the Florida Building Code.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Then Chris, if I could get Ben Rogers to come online to give the commission just an update on Ruben Stacy and our work there, please.
Mr. Rogers is in the meeting room. He'll come to the podium.
It's in the neighborhood.
Great.
Please go ahead, Commissioner.
Great. Ben, can you just give, just for the benefit of the commission, because we haven't updated them recently, just kind of what we are, where we are with this and what you've been working on? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Rogers, Transportation Mobility. The Ruben Stacy project that Commissioner's talking about is for Davie Boulevard to do a secondary naming of the street between I-95 and 441. We've been working with the county to understand all the needs and requirements for the signage. We have identified that there are 27 or 26 signs that the county would be responsible for swapping out. There's about 24, 25 signs the city would have to swap out. The city signs are on a decorative custom sign pole, so we're getting quotes right now for that. But we're looking at probably a cost of $50,000 or $60,000 to implement the sign changes. Our next steps, commissioners, we are scheduled or tentatively scheduled for a resolution of support from the commission in January. And that way we can start the process with Broward County in February. I believe that there was a target goal of having a couple of the intersections done during Black History Month.
Thanks, Ben. And Mayor and Commission, I'm going to ask if funding could possibly come from Broward County or partnership there in some form or fashion. So that's kind of where we are with that. Is that sounding all right, Mayor and Commission?
Well, what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
No, I think staff is supportive. Yes.
Okay.
Well, that sounds good. And this is going to be kind of part in my district, part in Commissioner McKenzie's district. So, you know, we're just all working together on it. Okay. Great. That's all I've got. Ben.
Okay.
Chris, South Ocean Drive Bridge. Can we maybe get an update for, I think we were slated for April. Any kind of update on that? This is a replacement of the whole bridge, Mayor.
guess I'll go back to Ben or to Raj. They're pointing at each other.
Good afternoon, Ben Rogers, Transportation Mobility. Raj is on his way up, but this was one of the projects that was slated for surtax funding, and we ran into some delays because of the process to receive surtax funding with the county. Recently, the county has provided some draft documents for the next amendment that we would need to enter into it to be eligible to receive the surtax funding. So from the surtax side of things, we got delayed a little bit, but it looks like we're getting back on track. I believe we're going to be bringing that forward at the first or second meeting in January. There has been some concerns about traffic in the area during the project. And so Raj and I are looking at traffic calming and if we can implement some kind of speed humps or deterrents during the construction period to mitigate speeding as people get impacted by the project. Raj, do you have any comments on the bridge? I think that's it, Commissioner Sorensen.
Great. That's good.
Okay.
Yep, that's good. I just wanted everyone kind of up to date on that. Great. Next one is tree ordinance. Chris, maybe Anthony or Alan could give us an update in terms of the updating the city's landscaping tree ordinance.
I'll go to either of those. I know that we were seeking additional public input before bringing it back to the commission, but go to Raj or Anthony. I've got a couple people that can probably help with timing better than I can. We'll start with Raj and then we'll go to Anthony if we need.
Yes, sir. And Anthony can fill in the gap. The ordinance, we have completed the feedback from the residents, and we have given it to the attorney's office to review. We are expecting about 2 weeks' time for review, and it appears that we should be on the agenda for P&Z in February. Anything missing, I'll have Anthony. Okay. All right. So that's all we have, Commissioner Sorensen.
Perfect. That sounds great. Okay, good. Thanks for the update there. Next up is Mayor. Just want to introduce you to and the commission to an amazing veteran was killed in action in Yemen. Ryan Owens, a Navy SEAL, was killed in action January 2017. He grew up and spent most of his childhood in Fort Lauderdale. He went to Cardinal Gibbons. His brother, John Owens, reached out to me a little bit ago, and he's through a nonprofit organization. They're very interested in commemorating Ryan's life in a meaningful way by having a kind of a life-size statue placed somewhere in South Florida, and specifically their desire is Fort Lauderdale if possible. So I've just started to kind of talk with his family, talk with Chris about that possibility and so forth. So this being something, kind of completely new, obviously to me, just wanted to kind of lift that up and to the commission for any kind of thoughts, reactions as we kind of explore this and kind of research more about Ryan Owens and then possibly explore what sites might be appropriate. Mayor?
Well, let me, would he be the only person from Fort Lauderdale that is a fallen hero in our community? I mean,
so we've got Sandy Nininger.
Well, we have Sandy Nininger because didn't he get a Congressional Medal of Honor or something? I mean, he was recognized by Congress for his sacrifice. I mean, anybody that's in the armed services deserves a medal for their sacrifice. A statue is another thing, and I know there have been many, many other fallen heroes in our armed services over the years for which there is no statue. Not that people should not be recognized, but I don't know if a statue for each person is really practical or appropriate. I mean, maybe we could.
I think
we could do a wall of honor. We could maybe create a plaque and add people's names to it, like the police department does. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I guess that would certainly be. I mean, those are very valid points, Mayor. Initially when the commissioner brought it up, I thought that if there's a foundation out there that's working on honoring this fallen hero, that we would see if there was any way we could, meet them in the middle with honoring his legacy in Fort Lauderdale and his service to our country. But you bring up good points. I guess it would be a function of our policy whether or not we wanted to, engage in that type of memorial or not. I certainly think if the commission wanted to, we could find a location.
I mean, he's a Bronze Star winner. He's killed in action. I mean, there just aren't many people that kind of fit that criteria, as it were.
Commissioner Sorensen, what about with the new War Memorial when they're redoing that building? I know there was some talk with Vinny about making it more of a display for our fallen heroes.
Yep. Yeah, that's a site that crossed my mind.
Yeah, so maybe we could talk with them. I know they were talking about maybe an eternal flame or some other ideas. Maybe we could partner with them and create that memorial.
So, all right. So in our next discussions regarding a war memorial, maybe that would be a topic that we should discuss by creating a wall with names of those who have died in service. I think that would be very appropriate. A statue, I'm not sure, but certainly a name recognition, I think that would be appropriate. Does anyone else have any opinions regarding this? Vice Mayor, Commissioner McKenzie?
I like the idea of doing something at War Memorial or in Holiday Park, if the district commission is okay with that. A wall, so that anytime we run into a situation similar to this, we could just keep adding names and not omit someone because we don't know who fits this criteria or has terminated to be put on the wall. So we can always add names. I mean, like in the Woodlawn Cemetery, where we couldn't keep records of the graves, and in an effort to preserve it, we created a memorial wall. So anytime that someone comes to one of us and say, hey, my relative is buried there and we can't find him, we just keep adding to that wall in perpetuity.
Vice Mayor, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, I agree with a lot of the sentiment. I think the most important thing is that we have a plan. It's as inclusive as possible, so that we really do have criteria and it's well thought out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Sorensen, we'll follow up on that, but I think it's well taken.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm happy to reach out to some of the Panthers folks and, have that discussion or, start, exploring options at least just for that specific idea. Okay, great. Then, so I want to get back to the holidays, Juneteenth. So I want to have a little bit of that discussion now, or when are we going to talk about that possibility?
Talk about what?
Juneteenth, the exploration of having Juneteenth as a city holiday.
Well, so I think that Juneteenth is an important day in our history. I guess it was the first day in which the slaves in Texas were notified that that slavery had been abolished. I don't know the connection per se to Fort Lauderdale or Florida for that matter. I don't know if slaves had already been emancipated in Florida prior to that time. But then the next question is, I'll be honest with you, if we do that, then I can think of a couple of other days I'd like to recognize. I'd like Stonewall to be recognized, June 26th. I mean, there are a number of things in the annals of many groups that find certain dates important. And, if we're going to do that, let's form a committee and maybe figure out, but I don't know what the financial impact would be on the city if we add 4 or 5 more days off, because I can see it going that way once we start, adding more days.
But I don't think he's talking about adding more days. I think sometimes we get caught up in trying to be inclusive. I think this moment in time, as the commissioner indicated, has been obviously researching. This day is important enough to honor and recognize as a holiday for the city of Fort Lauderdale. I think there's some legislation going around now in different states to make it a national holiday, but that has yet to happen. But sometimes you take small steps to get to greater heights.
And I get that, and I'm perfectly happy to do that. But I also want to add another date that's important to my community and equally important to my community, and feel that I would want to allow other people to come to before the commission and let them speak to us about what's important to their communities. I mean, I want our city to be known and continue to be known for its diversity and embracing cultures and communities all around. I don't know what the financial impact would be of having multiple days off, but I'm certainly open to the idea of ensuring that as long as productivity and cost does not interfere with the progress of our city, that we should continue to recognize important dates for as many communities as possible. So I mean, I think your question is a good question, Commissioner Sorensen. So I think we all should go back to our respective neighborhoods and talk about it and just see what kind of feedback you hear, and then let's bring it back to the commission. Maybe we'll make it an item on the agenda.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda for a conference, maybe, Mayor.
Okay. So we'll put on some future agenda conference meeting, and then we can talk more seriously about it. But I think between now and whenever that date is, we should go out to the community and discuss, what days are important to them and what days they think the city should commemorate as part of a day off for city workers.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I agree 100% with your sentiments, but I also want to return to the fact of something I've been bringing up for the last few years. We don't even celebrate a national holiday in Fort Lauderdale, which is President's Day. I just want to throw that out there again, because all the other ideas that I've heard today, those aren't even national holidays. So I don't even know how you bypass a national holiday, but that's just my own thought. I'm certainly open to discussion.
Your point is well taken. I don't know what the criteria would be for establishing a city holiday. Does it first have to be a national holiday or a state holiday before it becomes a city holiday? Something to think about. And I think everyone's points are well taken, but I'd like to first hear what the community has to say and see where do we go, how far can we take this, and before it starts to becoming an imposition on the operation of the city. So
perfect. All right, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great. Last topic, Mayor, and you've been helping lead this. I'm just continue to be very, very excited about a new federal courthouse in the city, and GSA continues to make very good progress in acquiring the property just west of Federal Highway, south of the river, and so that continues to go very well. And Alan and Chris are doing yeoman's work in helping facilitate that. So just very, very excited about that and looking forward to big things ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Commissioner McKenzie. Did you want to add anything? Do you have any commission reports?
Yeah, I don't really have a report. I do have a couple of questions I want to, or items to point out. And one of them you all spoke about last commission. I think every district experienced a delay in trash pickup. I didn't speak to it, but I experienced it in my district.
Well, I experienced it on my street.
and that's what brings me to the point. So in clarifying and speaking to staff, we got the new dates of garbage pickup, and I'll just use me for example. It was Wednesday and Saturday, which are still the dates that I had prior to. So I put my garbage out only for it to be missed. Not just mine, there were cans throughout the neighborhood. And then yesterday, Monday, they came and picked up the garbage. Now I got a week of garbage, and so did the neighbors, but nobody's garbage cans are out there, but one guy who left it out for like 7 days. So I want to be a dead horse, but I just want us to get the dates clarified, especially if you're changing because people's habits form. And you look,
Commissioner McKenzie, you're breaking up.
okay, you look for those days to get your garbage. So I think we just need to communicate those dates better, and then hold the vendor accountable because they did not hit any of the dates they promised us in my neighborhood. As you just indicated, you experienced the same in your neighborhood. So I don't know if it's staff or if it's the vendor itself, but there's a lack of communication and clarity with the trash pickups. Does anyone from staff want to speak to that, or you just gonna address and move on?
No, I can speak to it, Commissioner. So it's probably a combination of both. As I mentioned at the last meeting, and I'll say it again, we were admittedly late in getting information out, and the information certainly wasn't out as much as it needed to be. And we own that from our communications group. We have since done a direct mailing to every address in Fort Lauderdale where we pick up trash. And that's not to say that everybody gets the postcard in the mail and reads it, but we hope that a majority do. That should have gone to each individual house to let them know what their new pickup dates were for all of the different assorted carts. And we've made that available, that information available on our website. And we're attempting now to over communicate, but you bring up a very valid point that it was probably too late to the game.
And I guess I'll go into this. I don't have it in this order, but speaking of communications, to me, it seems like recently here we've had a lot of miscommunication with information, whether it's water, sewer emergencies, anything with information getting out to the community. To me, it's been a stumbling block. And when you speak to staff, and I spoke to you about this, they give you everything except what you asked for in terms of getting the message to the residents. And I don't know if this is due to turnover. I don't know if it's due to, I just don't know where the breakdown has come. I know we lost Chaz Adams. I know we've lost some more people over in the Strategic Communications Department, also known as PIO. But that concerns me, the rate of turnover, especially when you're talking about people of this caliber, long tenured, efficient. And if Chaz's absence has created this fury of lack of communication, I think this is something we need to address yesterday. And it's been lingering and compounding, especially, Mayor, with all of these pressing issues we have with infrastructure, we just experienced with storm, and even trash pickup. I mean, it's not that hard, to communicate, but somehow or another, I think our communication systems have falling to an all-time low, in my perspective. So you want to speak to that? Maybe that can answer my other question as well.
I mean, I can speak to that at this point to say feedback that's well received. We are going through some rebuilding in our strategic communications group. We did lose the department manager to retirement and have had a little bit of turnover since then. So we are going to rebuilding that group. We, in the short term, while we do that rebuilding, have looked to outside contract help to continue the communication flow going. So I think we will we'll get it back on track, and we'll get it back there quickly. But you are correct that there is some rebuilding going on in that group.
What do you mean outside contract help? I'm trying to understand that.
So there's communication firms, just like there's other firms that if we had a shortage of building inspectors, we could go to outside contractors to have plan reviewers, fill in the gap while we rebuild our staff, and that's something that we can do in the communications world as well.
So if we do that, then how does when we, I think Vice Mayor speaks to this quite often, we send information to neighborhood support or put it in a queue alert, how does that private person interact with that, or can they, will our internal controls not allow a private person to do that? And this could be part of what I am experiencing, at least. I don't know about the rest of you. Do they have the same access if they are private vendor? Something has gone seriously wrong.
They function more in a support role. We still have some tremendous people in that group that will be doing the main interacting with not only the commission but the public. But where we need some support role, that's where short-term contract can add that.
So can the vendor, the short-term contractor, can he or she interact with the way that we communicate as an independent contractor?
I think the answer is that they could, although my preference is that
I don't want you to think. I want to know the answer. I'm not being short. I'm just so frustrated with the lack of communication. I want to see if this could be the area, since you brought it up, that you have went out and gotten a private contractor. So maybe this is where we're falling. I don't know what has happened since the exit of the director. I don't want to use names, but something has gone wrong.
So I'll have to dig in and understand the contract a little bit better, so I answer you correctly.
Okay.
So,
I want to bring that back at the next meeting, or if we get it later on tonight, Mayor, if we can. The other subject matter that I want to bring up is, and we've had these conversations, the manager and I, but Melrose Manors and Melrose Park experienced some issues during the last storm. And we have been doing some follow-ups, and I even commended staff on what a good job they were doing with getting some of the work done. But I think we have kind of hit a wall in terms of following up. And maybe this goes back to my other question with strategic communications, with what people can get in terms of services from the city and cannot get. Now, I know there's been some special situations where I've made a phone call and directed some folks to housing and community development. I think the mayor's done a couple people, but I don't want to cherry pick. I want to know if we have a pot of money somewhere. And if we do, we, allow these type situations to apply or get access to these funds, and not just the mayor or me or any commissioner saying, hey, I know you and you can get in here, or that person cried the loudest. There needs to be a team on the ground over there, I think, just kind of orchestrating, our plan to clean the sewer systems and the storm swales. Anything dealing with what happened there that would not allow that water to leave that neighborhood for weeks. So again, I think if you just communicate, we're getting the calls in our office. I'm sure you are too. I think Mayor, you're getting some calls as well. Again, I think it boils down to communication and follow up. So, what are we going to put a plan in place to address these two neighborhoods, in particular, Melrose Park?
yeah, so we're still in the neighborhoods on a very regular basis. I know I see our daily reports over there. I've asked Raj to join this conversation and talk about the plan and our communications plan. Raj, can you speak to that, please?
Good afternoon, Commissioner McKenzie. Yeah, I had a discussion with your staff yesterday, and we told her that what plans we have. And as you know, as I speak to you just now, I got an email from our assistant city manager, Greg, and he wants me to approve certain expenses such that we can do the some neighborhood support and communication to get out to the people. So we are working on it, and we will be out there, and So both my office and the assistant city manager's office, Stratcom, we are working together to get those things out, and I will drive myself along with our new assistant director, and we'll see what additional resources and what additional efforts we need to add to those two communities. So as we speak.
So how do we get the information after you guys go out? How do I get that information without me picking up the phone and or sending an email saying I want the communications going out or what's happening? Is there going to be a reporting of this weekly? I mean, how do we communicate this?
Commissioner, if you want us to give you a weekly, I mean, we do get periodic updates from our stormwater manager, provides, what activities are taking place, and we can provide you and your office, the regular updates, whatever format you want. The only thing that I'm going to say is that based on the sheer volume of trying to restore, what needs to be done there, especially in terms of that ditch or the retention area, it is going to take quite a while. And that is those two communities, they have got a lot of damage in terms of the sidewalks, the potholes, and the soils that have been destroyed. So it is going to take a while, and I'm not going to mislead anybody in believing that it is going to be done relatively quickly, because I have personally monitored the performance of what needs to be done for that ditch in order to make sure that integrity is restored, such that we do not get the type of flooding we got. It is going to be some work.
And I understand that, and we have talked about it, but how we communicate this both to me and to the residents, I think they're frustrated because they're not hearing anything. So I want to just know how we're going to communicate that and just stay on top of it. So if there's a weekly update, I want the residents getting the same thing that I'm getting, because I'll send it out in my newsletters and other communications that I send to my HOAs to make sure that their people are well informed as to our efforts. And again, I thank you for all that you have done. But I need, as we move forward, it's the communication piece that I need us to.
We'll do that, Commissioner. Yeah, we'll coordinate with your office, and we'll be more than happy to to work with your staff and any residents or any representative in the community that you want us to work with.
Okay, thank you. Right. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, I just want to announce a couple of things. This week on Wednesday, there will be a new business opening, Yacht Sales International, at the New River Yacht Club. That's going to be at 10:30. We're going to do a ribbon cutting there. And we'll also be doing a ribbon cutting the next day, December 17th at 9:30 at Smitty's Wings on Sistrunk Boulevard. I invite everyone to attend. And a lot of the other things that you all folks have already mentioned. So let's move on with our meeting. So we are a little bit behind in time. So let's move ahead and talk about business one regarding the Henry E. Kinney Tunnel Top Park design.
So Mr. Mayor,
yes,
we'll let Ben Rogers kick this presentation off, and then he's got some people that have probably called in to make a further presentation and answer questions.
One person that's called in to speak is Maggie Hunt. So Ben, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Thank you, Mayor. As the city manager alluded, I do have people with me if you need any questions and answers. With me, I've got our transportation project managers, Benjamin and Isfan, and on the phone, we have Fausto Gomez from FDOT and his consulting team.
Great, thank you.
So the intent of today is just to have a conversation. If you recall back in October, FDOT did a presentation on the project, and in that there were some areas of concern. And since that time, we've gone back and forth with FDOT, and I'm here today to share the current status and get commission feedback on the next steps. So the first issue was pedestrian safety. The issue kind of focused around the curbless environments, the pavement markings, and just really wanted to confirm that pedestrian safety was integrated into the design concept. And so FDOT came back and said there's use of bollards, there's different contrasting colored concrete, the layout, the finishes, enhanced lighting, new signals.
Sorry, are you able to pull the deck up so everyone can see it?
Yes, one second, Commissioner.
Having your backup.
I know, but you want everyone who's watching to be able to see it, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. Are we able to put the exhibits on the screen? We're working on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. There we go. Perfect.
Thank you. Slide 2, please.
Okay, please proceed.
One before that. Yep. So, Mayor, I guess the question is given the concerns and the feedback, are there any additional comments or questions from the commission?
Okay. So I assume you've all read the item and read the backup. Do you have any questions of Mr. Rogers? I know I do, but I'd like to defer to the commission first. So Commissioner Moritas, do you have any questions?
I'm just going to listen right now, Mayor, and then I'll see what happens.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Ben, I just want to make sure that we're coordinating with Corradino and Las Olas Mobility, because there's issues here about, lanes. And I just want to make sure that the folks that are working on the tunnel top park design are also in conversation with Corradino, as there is some overlap there with the Las Olas Mobility Working Group.
Yes, we are working together with Corradino on this. They actually wrote a memo about one of the items coming up about the intersection modifications. We're also working with Public Works. We have a meeting later this week to talk about some of their projects and the overlay of the tunnel top project and Las Olas project.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Let me ask you something, Vice Mayor, and also Commissioner Sorensen. With regard to the Las Olas Working Group, one of the questions that I had as I looked at these diagrams was the fact that there was a narrative connected with one of the drawings that FDOT anticipates that Las Olas will be narrowed down from 2 lanes to 1 lane as it crosses over the top of the tunnel. Has that been part of the discussion in your group?
We have not had that 1 lane over the tunnel top parked specifically. We've had discussions about the entire 2.3 miles in terms of where we think it might be appropriate to narrow the lanes or lessen the lanes, but not specifically there. But there are a lot of people that are really against losing lanes of traffic. And that's why I asked if there was a coordination going on here between the tunnel top park design folks and the Corradino group.
Well, Corradino can come back and say, yeah, we need to narrow it down to 1 lane. And so it'll be 1 lane over the tunnel. But this Las Olas Working Group has been working for a very, very long time. And we need to get some answers here and some conclusions. Otherwise, the conclusions will be made for us.
No, we are.
Well, sequentially, Mayor, they will be.
There.
Yeah. Sequentially, this is going to work well because the Las Olas Working Group is going to submit a final proposal to the City Commission in February at the latest, and then for the City Commission to approve, and then that lines up well with the tunnel top design.
Yeah, we'll get there, Mayor. Don't worry.
Well, no, I am worrying because I know how these things get dragged out. And here's, this Las Olas Working Group has been going on this thing for years. So
not with us running it, it hasn't.
No. Well, I suspended my involvement when I became a mayor, and that was 3 years ago. So the thing is that FDOT's working forward. They're working on these designs, and they're not going to wait around for us to step up and say, oh, by the way, this is what we'd like to see. I'm concerned. Let me just put it out there. I'm just concerned that the Las Olas Working Group and the commission ultimately decide not to narrow Las Olas down to 2 lanes, but not to narrow it down to 1 lane from 2 lanes. And then all of a sudden we have a bottleneck right above the tunnel, and that's how it's going to be designed. So are you prepared to accept that? Is that through all your meetings, has there ever been a discussion that Las Olas will be narrowed down to 1 lane so that it would be consistent with the one lane design that we're now being shown over the tunnel top? Or is Las Olas actually going to be narrowed to one lane in each direction so that this design we're seeing over the tunnel is now going to be consistent with that one lane going all the way through?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Sorensen, but we have not finalized that aspect of the work that we're doing right now. But we're going to get there though, because we've had the discussions, we just have not finalized it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. This is going to be all collaborated and coordinated, and it's going to be done in a couple months. I mean, in terms of design. So we're moving at breakneck speed here.
Yeah, we have 4 meetings left, Mayor, until the plan will come to the commission. 4 meetings left. And our goal is to get the plan to the commission, as I said earlier, 2nd meeting in February.
So let me ask you this, Ben. Is FDOT waiting for this Corradino group to come up with its recommendations, or is today's presentation to let us know what they intend to do, and they're not waiting for us to really come back to them with what's going to happen on Las Olas? Tell us what is FDOT planning to do at this point?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is introduce Fausto and let him respond on behalf.
Can you
of
speak into the microphone because I can't hear you?
Yeah, what I'll do is introduce Fausto Gomez from FDOT and let him answer that question directly.
Mr. Gomez.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner. This is Fausto Gomez. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
We can't see you, but we can.
Well, hold on a second. I can work on that too.
Turn your video.
I'm sorry. Let me make sure that I get the video going here too.
Well, we saw you for a second.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. All right. Can you see me now?
You're good. Yep.
All right. What we can do basically right now, we're wrapping up the production completion of the project before the end of this month. And what could happen if this later on, let's say before the letting, or it could be maybe right after the letting, the city decided to make a change in this location, we're probably going to have to revise the plan by then. But currently, I prefer going with what is currently proposed. And then if something changed within the next couple of months, 3 months, we can revisit the plans and make the changes back to the original laneage that is there now, and make the revision to the plans. But for now, I prefer to move forward because we're right at the verge of finishing up the plans.
So you are moving forward?
Yes, we are.
So if the Las Olas working group, the Corradino group consultant, were to come back in February and present their proposal to the commission accepted it. And that proposal was to keep 2 lanes open in each direction on Las Olas Boulevard at this intersection. Would this not delay your plans as you have to now revisit the configuration to avoid a bottleneck to take place there if the city commission believes that it should not be narrowed to 1 lane over the tunnel? I mean, is this just going to continue to delay the project?
Well, currently right now, so that we can meet our production, we'll move forward with what we have. We can see later on, and we hope that it's not going to be a major, because if we can make the changes, the letting is scheduled for May of this of coming year, 2021. If we have time to make the revision, and this is something that I can open up with my consultant, not knowing how much of it changes that will impact the plans, but we have at least a minimum of the latest 14 days before the letting to provide any revision. And I don't want to use that timing before the letting, but if it can be done a month or 2 before the letting, that will be the preferable if there's not much changes that could be done on the plan. So if it's something that can be done in a week or so, we can look into that to make the change.
So you can wait 2 months then?
I can wait, but for now, I'm moving forward with what we have currently shown in the plans.
Okay, and the reason why you are recommending the design that you submitted today pushing the park so that it reduces the pathway over the tunnel to one lane in each direction is because you want to increase the pedestrian use of the park? Is that the
Well,
philosophy?
actually, the request came from the city to extend the that
To extend the
section
park?
north of the park further south, and maybe I don't know if it's Naldo is on the call, that maybe he can.
There we
give
see
a
it.
little, oh, there's Naldo.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. Yes, we coordinated this early, it was in May, with your Transportation Mobility Group. The idea is to really expand as much as possible the pedestrian area. When we expanded this from 60 feet to 117 feet to the north, there really was a push to go as far as we can, knowing that for most of the day that lane is not in use because of parking. We saw that as an opportunity and presented it to the city and see if this is an option to expand the area and to provide more room for pedestrians. I think the city was then working with Cordinos. By the way, someone asked if we have gone together with Cordino. We did. We got together with Cordino after this was extension, moving the curb line to the south was approved back in May. We actually got together with Cordino, I want to say September of this year, and we compared notes. We shared our plans. They shared with us what they were doing, and they confirmed that what we were proposing, at least for now, works well with what they're looking at for Las Olas.
So I think your goal is meritorious to try to expand, the park size. There's no doubt about that. But at what expense? You may say that it's not used that much during the daytime, but I can guarantee you at any given night, especially mostly like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this is a nightmare in and around there. I mean, it's very busy. It's very slow moving traffic, bumper to bumper. And during season now, especially, it's very difficult to traverse that area as it is. And I'm just very concerned that we may be examining the use of this area during a time when it's least used as opposed to when it's most used. Do you have any thoughts on this, Commissioner Sorensen, or am I just
I can say we did ask. I'm assuming we asked the Transportation Mobility Department. I think there's a study, and Cordino did have the current traffic numbers, I think before COVID, but they also have projection. I'm not sure how that all changed, but we did obviously ask them to look at it from a traffic perspective. So I'll let, I guess, Ben.
So Commissioner Sorensen, do you have any thoughts on this? Am I just exaggerating it? Is there not really a problem here? Tell me what your thoughts are.
Sure. I mean, so yes, that can be a congested area. I think your concerns are valid. And I think we've got, between the traffic analysis we're doing in-house, between the flow of traffic that Cordino's doing, the analysis of options and so forth, and the work FDOT, I think we're heading in a good place. And so I think the resolution is going to work well wherever we come to kind of synergistically.
Okay.
It's going to be fine. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Ben on this, or any?
I have one, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just on the artificial turf, slide 2, is this material absorbent? Does it absorb groundwater?
Yes, there's a filtration system with it, and it has a permeable rate of 600 inches per hour, which is comparable to gravel at 700 inches per hour.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Great.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, so let's move over. No, go back to that slide. Oh, stay at that slide. Stay at that slide. Right there. You'll all notice that in terms of permeable and soft surfaces, that this plan calls for the removal of one of the fountains, and to make smaller, really, it looks like, the existing fountain and change it into an oval shape from a rectangular shape. It would seem to me that to make a park. Now I look at the treetops here, and it makes it look like it's extremely lush. But we all know that at base level, those are just poles that we see through, and it doesn't really create the type of landscape design that I was hoping we were going to have here. I was hoping we were going to have more of a canopy and more of a lush park setting. It seems to me that we're just creating a lot more hard space that's only going to cook all the pedestrians that walk around there during the summer and spring months. I still have not been convinced that we need to get rid of the two fountains at a cost of $110,000. Does anyone else have any thoughts about that? I guess not. Well, Ben?
What? I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, so removing one of the fountains from, capturing it correctly was pedestrian flow and so forth. Is that right, Ben Rogers?
Yeah, that was one of the primary reasons the design team came up with was the connectivity from point A to point B. If you also recall, at one point we were talking about public art and.
Could you please speak into your microphone?
Sorry about that. Yes, at one point we were talking about public art and shade structures, things of that nature. But because of the FDOT timeline, we moved forward with kind of the basic layout design so they could keep the project going. And we said that we would, defer this conversation for what goes on the plaza in the future. But to your point, Commissioner, the fountain was reduced in size, and it was part of the layout to increase connectivity and pedestrian flow.
Well, the thing is, honestly, I think that this is a wrong direction because there's not mobs of people that go here. It's very few people really. This is a pathway between Las Olas and Stranahan House. And I can tell you right now, there's no streaming flow of people going from point A to point B. It's very rarely used. And you're just creating more and more hard surface in an environment that already has a lot of hard surface. And what's deceiving, for example, is the icon right above this. It looks like there's a pool of water. Well, yeah, 44 floors up, there is a pool of water. It's not at ground level. So what we're having here is just going to have a huge expanse of whatever we're going to use, whether it be pavers or stamped concrete or whatever it may be. And that's all I see here. And these treetops are just going to be above site level. The only thing we're going to see are the poles that make up the trunk of the tree. And I just don't see this as a park. I see this as just another open space that is not very inviting. And to pull away another fountain for no reason whatsoever other than some, idealized notion that there's going to be a flow of traffic coming from Las Olas to Stranahan. And I've lived in the city for 38 years, and I've never seen that area inundated with pedestrian traffic. And to say that, we need to open the space up even more, when in fact we should look for ways to try to soften the environment as opposed to hardening it the way it is here. I think it's a mistake. But if the rest of the commission thinks it's okay, obviously I'll defer to the rest of the commission. But I don't see this as the most idealized way of trying to redesign this. I love the tunnel top park itself. I think you guys did a great job with all of that. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the area. But I just, I like what you did with the Laura Ward Park right behind the pump station. You're taking away a hard surface and greening it up, even though it's artificial. But the point is, the more green we can find, the better it is for the environment. And the more water features there are, the better it is for the experience that we would have there. But
how about this? How about a like an interactive water feature for kids, like shoots up little spouts of water and so forth? Ben, what about that? Is that in that area?
In the Laura Ward Park Plaza?
No,
in the
that pathway where we have the existing fountains. Instead of having a fountain that's above grade, to have water shooting up from the surface.
Yeah, I'd have to go with FDOT and the design team. I know that there's some under subgrade pipes for the fountains now. I don't know the condition or where they're at or what we could do, but we could look into that if that's the direction of the
'Cause I
commission.
think that'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to have some interactive features that folks can, engage with in a more meaningful way, especially in that kind of, because I agree with the mayor. I mean, there's some unused space that's not going to really get a lot of traffic there. And Ben, what I'm thinking is and Mayor, I don't know, I'm thinking kind of the south, let's see, make sure I'm orienting myself, southwest corner of that rectangular, kind of near where the intersection of Icon and, just go south a little bit more with that hand. So I think you're going east, it looks like to me, but anyway, the southwest corner in there. Yeah, in there.
Yeah, what is
so maybe
that?
Ben, that's something we can look at.
Yeah, that seems to be really unused space.
Yeah. Yep.
Mayor.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I was just gonna say,
wanna
and
make
that's
sure
a
the
safe.
Commissioner's done.
Yeah, and that's a safe area. I just think of kids and like in that corner, that southwest corner. It's a relatively safe area. You're not close to traffic. I mean, there could be some fun things there. Anyway, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's go to slide 5 on page 8 of 9, because it seems what they are writing there is trying to accomplish what you've been saying, but they're saying it from a different perspective. If you look at what they're saying. They're saying that they're giving you the reasons why the existing fountain is not compatible, it creates the conflict. And they're saying that if they do what they're proposing, then you do get a better circulation and additional landscaping and shade area. So they're saying that the way they're approaching it will get to the result that you seem to want there.
Where do you see in the slide, the last slide, if you can flip over to the last slide again, where do you see shade areas and landscaping?
Well,
I
this
see
is
just in multiple colors.
Well, this is from above. I know we're not seeing a street elevation, but if you go back to that next number 5, the fountain, look at those bullets. They're saying that you are going to get what it is you want to get if you look at those 5 bullets. Well, I don't know where you see it, but the words are saying it's going to happen.
But this
they're
is
a little blurry. It's a little blurry now.
There's no plumbing. There's no irrigation. None of that is planned for that area. So how are you going to have landscaping and water features in an area that isn't where there's no infrastructure for it?
I mean, I'm looking. Look at the 3rd bullet. The 2 pieces of the existing fountain occupy a large.
And also occupy a large area that could be used for natural shading and placemaking.
Right.
Well, I don't know what the word placemaking means in this context. And natural shading, I assume, means that the icon is going to shade the area.
I'm not sure. Look at the next bullet.
By demolishing the southern fountain, the design improves the pedestrian circulation. I don't see that to have ever been a problem, and allows for additional landscaping and shade area, but there's nothing planned for it.
But it allows for it. So where's that going?
So if you don't put in infrastructure to allow for it, then it's just words. It's not reality.
Right, but what I'm saying is, why aren't the words matching up to the reality, or where are we seeing these words translate into something happening on these?
Yeah, Mr. Gomez, how do those words relate to the site plan?
Mayor, let me. Hope is online. Our landscape architect, who actually, Brian Short. Are you on, Brian? Can you please explain to?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Hi, Brian.
Can you bring the overall site plan back up?
The last page.
Yes.
There we go.
And there might be some clarities that trying to convey the actual treatments that are being improved. You have a line of trees between the icon and the fountain zone.
Where I don't see one tree
in there. There are existing trees underneath the paver harmonization, right on that zone right there, where the actual icon is using a restaurant zone.
So those are icons.
There's existing
those
trees.
are icons trees.
It makes it differ depending on where the parcel line is, but yes, they're in the actual plaza existing that are not being impacted. There is a row of plant materials that are on the southern side of Stranahan House as well.
Yeah,
They
but how
create
does
a
this,
lot of shading for that because they're on a southerly view, casting a northerly shadow. So you do have shadowing. The addition to the green space adjacent to Sixth as also will create shadowing. Right now, you just have two smaller street trees in there, and they're being consolidated to a larger grouping for that area. So the fountain area, with the cast of shadow and the maturity of the trees, will create this shadow effect that we were explaining in the design. There
but
are
that's
some
not
other
what you're,
limitations of drainage that are in this plaza as well. So there's kind of some restrictions that we have. That's why I believe that the fountain became a linear feature in their design because of the drainage restriction. So
well,
I just wanted to give you a
you're
little more
just taking
insight.
advantage of what's already there. You're not adding anything.
The
You're,
whole massing of that green canopy right next to the drop off is all a canopy tree and a large box of palms that will cast shadowing and everything to the north.
palms don't
But
cast shadows. Palms are not shade trees. And
palms do have value in groups. Yes, they do. I mean,
well, based on your narrative, if we can go back to that, can we go back to the narrative?
Fountain page, page 8. The next
There
page.
we go. By demolishing the southern fountain, the design improves the pedestrian circulation and allows for additional landscaping and shade area. So far, you just described the existing shade area. You haven't added any additional landscaping or any additional shade area.
if you would see a original aerial there, there's actually less trees along Sixth today than what we're going to provide in the large planter. There's a large planter consolidated in the concept. It's actually shown on the screen now where the arrow goes across it. That's adjacent to the fountain. That was part of the concept provided. There was a large understory green space for that to consolidate them instead of them being small little street tree designs that were originally there. So it's more of a consolidation, but building upon the existing that are between the fountain and the icon, as well as the ones that are in the south, there is the opportunity for shading and providing that connectivity. We have a couple active items. The drop off there, based on the icon site plan and function, they need to be able to drop off and actually provide deliveries to the rear of icon between Stranahan and icon. So that's part of one of the functions there that's somewhat limited, but then there's drainage underneath the whole plaza that further limits. So there's some, perimeter plantings that were provided in there. On the idea of an interactive
Brian, you
fountain,
don't show any perimeter landscaping. You don't show any additional landscaping. All you show is a bunch of concrete. And we're trying to get away from that feel in our downtown. That's why we call it a park. And a park should not be a plaza. We're trying to create a tunnel top park. And all you're doing is adding more hardscape and taking away a water feature. You're going in the wrong direction. And your narrative says that there'll be additional landscaping and shade area. And so far, you haven't demonstrated that. You just said it allows for it, but it doesn't if you don't have the infrastructure there. You don't have the drainage. You don't have the pipe system to irrigate it. And certainly, by taking away the fountain, you're just creating more concrete area. I just don't see that trade-off as being acceptable to this city.
you're getting a larger green space adjacent to Sixth compared to the little 6x6 cutouts that are out there today.
Brian, can you put some kind of an interactive water feature on the southwest corner of that?
Would you like to interject the notion of needing restrooms in the area?
I don't know what that means.
Interactive fountains per health code would need an adjacent restroom.
Interactive fountains need an adjacent rest. Okay, there's statute. What does that state?
Part of the requirements that people can do their changing or unfortunately have accidents and such. You can help prevent accidents and such. For
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay. So you can have a. Okay.
You would have to entertain putting more or have facilities of some kind of restroom nearby.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner, running water always does that to me. When you get older, that happens.
Just
Yeah,
a sound, huh?
Yeah.
Mayor, I have a
Yeah.
couple comments too when you're
Okay.
ready.
Yes, Commissioner Moritas.
Okay, yeah, thank you. You know, this is a very unique project because we're trying to incorporate a busy road in between three different parcels of space that we're calling, you know, some park space. And don't forget, we have the river also, which is a waterway feature that, you know, maybe you're not quite seeing as blue, but, you know, we have the water there to create that ambience also. You know, when we talk about shade, we also talked about sails, which we don't really have here because this is just the hardscape, but we have the opportunity to add some shades, sails, or even some cafe lighting if we need to. You know, we're talking about that down in the Galt right now, and I know different areas have done that. So we can add additional shading if needed after this hardscape is built. I remember hearing from, I believe it was Gina in Riverwalk, and she was pretty against any kind of interactive waterway feature or a little water feature. And if my memory serves me correctly, so that's why we didn't kind of take that path when we discussed this earlier. So, you know, I see these spaces will be activated for different types of use, whether it's music or some food trucks or, you know, a little concert. I think with the space they have, I mean, we're not looking at all of this as being green space. We're trying to incorporate like an Uber drop-off area and in Las Olas and, you know, the other road, that 6th Avenue, you know, so I think with the space they have, I do like this design. I think it gives us some more usable space, not in the traditional park sense, but I think it is good for the area and space we gave them, and it interacts nicely with the buildings and restaurants around it. So, I mean, I know we could probably nitpick it and come up with, you know, some different ideas, but I do like it. And I do think, like I said, we have the water, the new river right there also. And we can add some additional shade, and it doesn't have to be the hard trees and canopies. It can be additional. Those are just my thoughts. Thanks.
And the pavement treatment is to tie the whole plaza together. If the pavers, you know, in the area of the fountain do not get changed out, then it's going to feel like it's a whole different area and still part of the icon because of their established paver design of the, you know, red and charcoal style pavers. And all we're doing is pushing that edge back closer to icon, creating a consolidated green space and putting the reconstructed fountain to fit the theme of the project, and as well as putting a pedestal there for a place of art piece and such. That is included. It's not in this image that you see on the screen, but that's been included on there because there was some, you know, notions to, you know, provide opportunity for public art, but we're not going to install it, but we're putting a base in to be able to bolt something down.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? I have Maggie Hunt. Are you on the line, Maggie? Is Maggie Hunt still there?
Mayor, I did have one comment.
Okay, go ahead before Maggie comes on. Sure.
Thank you, because and this was just triggered by that thought of having a base for public art. But I don't know why we're limiting ourselves to a base for public art, meaning that we think we have to do something like a piece of sculpture or something. Why can't we? And I remember we were approached by some arts groups early on in our discussion of the park, where we heard from folks that were willing to work with us and artists, and, you know, we could use artists, public art for shade structures. We could use public art for a lot of different functions. It doesn't have to be that we're just going to have a pedestal there for a piece of sculpture. I'd like us to think a little bit more outside the box when it comes to the possibilities of public art here, especially now that we have a public art ordinance and a public art committee.
I agree, but it doesn't mean we have to put a piece of public art there. It just means it's being made available as a possible site.
Right.
And just FYI,
go ahead.
Art can be functional and should be functional.
Well, in this particular case, we might really need something functional in terms of shade structure or something really cool. I just don't want us to limit our possibilities, but maybe this is a good project for our, I think our public art committee has already had one meeting. Maybe they come up with something. Just a thought.
Okay, it's not being offered by the state, so that would be a separate conversation for another time.
Understood.
All right. So Maggie,
and just so y'all are aware, I was just texting with April Kirk. That northern portion of the Stranahan House, that boundary, at some point they may want to open that up with a gate or have a kind of open and closed gate there as well, just which would allow for flow in and out of their property there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Yep.
Okay, Maggie, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
That's okay. I just want to say that I really emphatically agree with you, Mayor Trentalis, on this hardscape and greenscape thing. And I think just because we have more trees in the plan than we have there now doesn't necessarily make it enough. I also would say that I've been to the beach so many times and tried to get some shade under a palm tree, and it's very difficult compared to getting shade under an oak tree. So foliage wise, shade wise, there's a huge difference between a palm tree and an oak tree. I think for that reason, I would like to know where I could get some information about the types of trees that are in this plan. I think it's important because I know some trees in my neighborhood, they have a really narrow leaves and they don't provide much shade. Also, that little corner you're talking about by the Stranahan House and the Icon, I mean, I wonder, can we put some more trees there? And there's a spot by the Cheesecake Factory where there's 3 trees and then there's a space and people can walk between trees. I just see more opportunity for canopy there. And I sure would like to see it. I also would hate to see that fountain reduced in size. Let's see. I also, the trees there in that inside corner would help the transition to the Stranahan House, because right now I don't see it's a better transition than it was, but I don't think it's a great transition. I also see there's a lot, almost more canopy right there in that little Stranahan lot than there is across the whole park. And the park's much bigger. I also called because I wanted to confirm with Chris about the plans. We still have 2 site plans here. The one that talks about the fountain is a very different. It excludes the planter. It's got a lot more concrete than the one underneath, the one that says questions. And I know as an interior designer, if I have a floor plan, 2 different floor plans in a proposition, a presentation, there's going to be mistakes down the road. So I would really like to see only one plan. I think it's less confusing. It causes problems to have 2 when we talk about it in the future. So there's not that confusion. I hate to see the end come up and the wrong plan gets up there. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for their hard work on this. It is going to be a beautiful park.
Great. Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who's interested from the public who's interested in speaking on this item? There being none. Okay. Does anybody else have any further questions or comments regarding this design? By the way, which design is being used? The one that we're looking at now or the one that we saw on a previous slide? Because the paver or stamped concrete design looks completely different. Which one is the final one? Is this the final one?
Yes, Mayor. The one displayed right now is the current design.
This right now?
Sorry, the slide that has questions at the top, the last one of the
okay, so not this one, but this one. Okay. All right. Any further questions?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask?
May, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm one thing. On number 3, which is on page 4 of 9, the night and weekend work. FDOT needs some clarification, and I'll work with the city manager on this, but I wanted to see if I could get some commission direction or feedback on the hours that are being proposed. If we allow them to work nights and weekends, as identified in the slide, it will cut about 4 months off of the time and alleviate congestion and traffic issues.
Phew. Well, it's in a residential area.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't, being right adjacent to residential, that probably at first pass is not something I'd support, but I'd want to look at it further.
Okay. And I've asked FDOT for additional information, like at nighttime hours, if they would be doing quiet work or other work. But it does have a significant impact. It takes the project from 28 months long to 24 months long.
I get that, but it's in a difficult area. I'd love to see it done more quickly too. I agree with you. All right, so let's get back with them on that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't even know what's proposed at this point. So once we figure out.
Yeah, we're going to need to talk with the HOAs there.
Agree.
Before moving on that.
So then I will work with FDOT and have them move forward in their bid process with not having nights and weekends, so they get a maximum cost and timeline, and then they can modify it if we approve it.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate all your work on this. Thank you so much. Thank you, folks from FDOT. Thank you for all your work you're doing on this. We just needed to express our opinion because we have a community who continue to express their opinions on what they are seeking in our downtown, and certainly a lot of green is a goal, and we already have a lot of hardscape. We're trying to soften it up. So anything we can do to enhance that, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, yeah, go ahead, Fausto.
Mr. Gomez.
Oh, Mayor, before you close on this item, I just want to say that with regarding the timing we ask in the city, we're basically asking for an extended hour for contractor to work after 5 p.m. and before 10 p.m. rather than a nighttime work, which is usually like from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And Saturday instead of Sunday, just Saturday only. And the reason for this is we trying to add bonuses on the project to expedite a lot of the work, which is part of this timing that we can reduce from the construction. And if the city does not decide to yet make a decision on it, we can add the bonuses as part of our specification packages. And that's something that, we wanted to see if the city would make a decision on that. Other than that, then the project will go as a normal time as, for the project, for the contractor just to build it with a normal timing, that is required, rather than them working on extended hour and on weekends that allows with the bonuses.
So summarize that if you can then, Ben.
Mayor?
1 second. Ben, can you summarize what was just said then?
Yeah, my interpretation of what Mr. Gomez said was that in the bid process, they want to identify some bonuses, something to expedite work.
Right, I get that. But what are the hours now?
Can you bring up that slide? Page number 4 of 9. Yes.
So daytime work starting at 7 a.m. and then, yeah, that's going to be tough, especially the 7 a.m. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Well, this is an interesting discussion. It wasn't that long ago, I brought up a lot of complaints we're having in Flagler Village about extended times. We had an agenda item about this, which is giving our city manager more ability now to extend these hours for the developers. So this is different in that it's not necessarily developers, but it's almost like we're saying taxpayer dollars, and we have a chance to shorten up the time frame. I just think we should look at this in context of what we've already approved for extended hours overall in the city, and make sure that they match up.
Chris, are these extended hours inconsistent with the extended hours we gave to a private developer?
Yeah, these aren't that out of, I mean, they're not that out of whack. Every person asks for something different based upon what they're actually performing. But this, I mean, is
7 a.m. You're going to be, the problem is they're going to be jackhammering at 7 a.m. And that's going to be a problem. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Chris, give us the normal operating hours for construction at that location.
It's 8 to 5.
Yeah, I want to confirm. Hang on a second, so I can just I'll read it directly from the code.
Yeah, thanks.
The 7 a.m. in Flagler right now for private developers.
And of course, we would have an internet connection that's not stable. I've never seen that before.
Anthony's on his way up, Mr. Manager.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Anthony Fajardo again. So the ability to extend the hours goes from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So there's no ability to extend beyond that. So it's either the standard hours or a request between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m.
What are the standard hours, Anthony?
The standard hours, I believe, are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Monday to Friday, or including Saturday?
There are different hours on Sunday.
So what are the standard hours on Saturday?
So the standard hours Monday through Saturday would be I believe the 8 a.m. 8 to 7.
8 to 7.
Sundays shorter.
But why are these ending at 5 instead of 7?
Yeah, Vice Mayor, I believe that this is just what FDOT provided us as kind of their work segments. So 7 a.m. Or 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. So Monday through Thursday, it would be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. On Friday, it'd be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Saturday, it'd be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
It's essentially looking for an additional 4 working hours a day.
So Fausto, let's just talk about this for a moment. So is the 7 a.m. a critical start point, or if you could go later in the day, could you start at 8?
Well, the reason for that is sometimes with the contractor have to start out with any MOT plans and stuff like that. Sometimes it cuts them on the timing, full-time work on a date. They prefer to have at least 6 hours of work. And when you start up a little later, it cuts on the time if they have to do any MOT setup and things like that. So we try to make sure that the contractor get a full timing in getting ready for a full day of work, rather than losing time in preparation of any MOT setup. Because if you do set up, and I know on this job we have, a situation where it's going to be set up for a while, especially when we go to 1-2 in the tunnel and then close it for the next one. Those are longer setup that is going to remain the same weight. So in those situations, they could probably start a little later, but in trying to get this trying to get the contractor in building this chef as soon as possible, I think it helps in giving it, allow more time for them to do the job. Currently, right now, we have a revised construction time estimate on this project, which is approximately 700 days.
700 days. It's 2 years.
700, yes. And also the reason why we're asking a lot of this. We also looking to, for the La Sola work on the plaza, we're looking to add a bonuses where we allowed the contractor only to work from March to November during the off-peak season, and given a bonus for them to finish the complete plaza within that period. That's one of the bonuses that we're thinking about to add in this project.
Do we have to make a decision today?
I guess at the next commission meeting, it would be nice to have that so that we can incorporate this as in the bonuses, part of the specification that had to be incorporated. It doesn't have to be a decision today, but if you need to be discussing further with city staff, we can wait.
Let me ask you this. If you said daytime work from 7 to 5, what you really mean is you're going to work from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. That's what you're looking to do.
That's what we're looking if, and again, this is up to the contractor. If he decided to go after the bonuses, he will take those timing as a consideration. And if he doesn't, he feel that, he don't want to go after the bonus, he probably just going to work the normal daytime hour only.
But it's not Friday, Mayor. Friday's not included in the 10 p.m.
Friday's the only day. All right. What if we said 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.? Would that be helpful to you?
That's fine. Yes.
How about the rest of the commission? Do you have a problem with that? Because it's the early part that rattles people. I think they could deal with it at night.
Well, you didn't even want it, Mayor. You didn't even want any music past 9 o'clock on one of the events. So why would we have all this construction noise at 10 o'clock?
Well, because this is in an entertainment area and there's already noise and traffic.
Okay.
So it's not. I think it's a little different. I don't know. Maybe we should. You want to think about it?
Well, maybe it's good if the commissioner in the district speaks to his HOAs first before we make a final decision.
Yeah,
it would have to come back to you anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Go back to your neighborhood groups at Beverly Heights and Las Olas Las Olas merchants and all them. See what they have to say about it. But I think that would be great if we could shorten the length of.
Sure. Maybe they want to save 4 months.
Yeah.
Mayor, one of the things too that I typically consider when these requests come in for extended hours is they're required to submit a noise management plan that suggests what they will do in those hours that are outside of the normal hours that they're operating to manage the noise, because there's certain programming things you can do to do different parts of the construction that don't make as much noise at 9 o'clock at night. So you all don't have the benefit of reacting to a noise management plan at this point. So this would just be suggesting that the work would happen as normal during all those hours. So just keep that in mind as well.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Gomez, can we just get back to you at our next meeting?
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your patience.
That sounds good. Great. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Anything further from the commission on this? Okay. There being none, let's move on to our next agenda item, which is the fourth quarter year-end projections. Chris?
Yeah, Mayor and Commission, I'm going to be handing this one off to Laura Reese. She will be reporting on unaudited year-end numbers from fiscal year 20. So we'll hand it over to Laura.
Hi, good afternoon. So can the IT person please pull up the presentation? I was told that you would progress it for me. So good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. My name is Laura Reese, Director of your Office of Management and Budget, and I'm here today to share with you our projections of where we think we're going to end fiscal year 2020. It's important to note, as Chris mentioned, that the numbers I'm sharing with you are preliminary. and the finance folks are finalizing the annual financials. However, we thought it was important to share this information early, as I'm sure most of us have heard and read in the newspaper about some of the financial conditions that some of the governments in our area and others are experiencing due to COVID-19. Since we're required to have a balanced budget, we want to provide you with assurances that we still do based upon the information that we have. So I wanted to provide you with a little overview of some key events in 2020 that impacted our financials. In December, we had the forced main break that we all know about. That was an impact of $27.8 million to our water, sewer, and central region wastewater funds.
Do we need to advance the slide, Laura?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please. First slide.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. So in December, we had the forced main break, $27.8 million. Mid-year discontinuation of return on investment charges to the water, sewer, and central region funds. That was $10.2 million impact to the general fund. And then in March, we had the COVID national state of emergency hit us. So there were stay-at-home orders, different restrictions on different types of businesses, and also impacts to the city operations. And to top it all off, in May, we had some demonstrations that resulted in around $1.2 million in overtime expenses in our public safety departments. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you. The last time we came to you to discuss the projections was based upon the second quarter projections. So we had actual revenues and expenditures through March, and we were looking at the trends we were seeing in April. And that's when we sent you those COVID memo, the COVID impact memos. At that time, we were conservatively projecting that the overall budgetary impact of COVID-19 would be a little over $34 million. At that time, we were able to develop balancing strategies for each shortfall in each fund without impacting our service levels. And the goal was to end the year in a solid financial position, and it would give us a whole half year to implement those strategies. But based on the fourth quarter projections, we believe that citywide, the COVID impacts to our revenues will be now approximately 20 million. So our revenues will come in 20 million lower than what we expected at the beginning of the year. That's the good news is that's a $14 million improvement from where we were projecting in the second quarter projections. And the only fund with revenues impacted more than the anticipated in the second quarter was the parking fund. Next slide, please. The general fund fourth quarter revenue projections, this is the fund that everyone talks about the most, indicate that our general fund revenues will be approximately 9 million below budget. Although the shortfall is significant, it's an improvement of $10.2 million from our second quarter forecasts. Our revenue forecasts were conservative, particularly with those related to consumption of electricity and other services. And just to kind of note, at the time we were doing the projections in April, many of the businesses in our city were still closed due to the stay-at-home order. So we've highlighted a few that came in better than projected. FPL utility tax, interest earnings, charges for services, and franchise fees. So that was good news. Next slide, please. We also achieved the expenditure savings that we anticipated. $5.4 million was achieved through the manager implementing a hiring slowdown. And essentially there was very limited hiring for non-public safety positions, and we didn't hire certain part-time positions for summer programs. We were able to achieve $5.4 million using that strategy. And then for operating expenses, it was essentially, if you don't need it, don't spend it. So we had some reduced costs just because we had the stay-at-home order for a few months, and then we had travel and training, and anything we didn't need to buy, we didn't buy it. Next slide, please. So the result of all of this, due to conservative projections earlier in the year, the manager's direction to reduce all non-essential expenditures, and better than expected revenues, we plan to end the year in a strong financial position. The year-end fund balance for the general fund is projected to be 95.5 million, which is 26.3% of our operating budget, including required transfers. This is 1.3% above our targeted fund balance, or $4.7 million above our targeted fund balance of 25%. So it's pretty incredible that we ended the year hitting our targeted fund balance despite all the challenges. Although it's prudent to await the final year-end results before appropriating these funds to any project, we've always talked about if we hit that 25%, we could invest it in some of the needed public investments. Those decisions haven't been made, but we provided some examples of what capital needs we know that have not yet been funded. We have Fire Station 13 is projected to be more than what we have in the budget. Public safety equipment, funding towards McNabb Bridge, and the list goes on and on. I'm sure Chris has shared with you. So next slide, please. So for the other funds, again, all of the funds except for the parking fund ended better than expected. For the airport fund, we had fewer tenants who participated in the deferred rent program and lower than expected fuel flowage loss. In the building fund, revenues were also impacted less than expected by about $1 million. So instead of being impacted by 3.2 million, we were impacted by 2.3 million. But the parking fund had sustained lower parking demand, but lower than expected revenues were offset by adjustments that were made during the year. So we did still end in a positive position in that fund. The last two funds I'll highlight is the water and sewer fund. They had a $1.4 million improvement in the revenue projections. Next slide, please. And sanitation fund, $2.3 million more positive, primarily related to franchise fees. So that's sort of how we're ending the year. We're pretty excited about the outcomes, even though they're not final. And, I'm pleased to share that the city of Fort Lauderdale is expected to end 2020 in a strong position. This couldn't have happened without strong leadership and teamwork throughout the city. Thank you for your leadership and support to address the city's financial challenges over the past year. And then, do you have any questions?
Great, thank you so much. Anybody have any questions? All I can say is I commend the city staff for being able to find these efficiencies within the operation of the city in order to limit the exposure that the COVID-19 virus has had on our the impact it's had on our budget and on our ability to provide services to the community. Let's hope going forward that the impact continues to be minimal as we try to emerge from the pandemic in a safe and responsible way, as we have always tried since the beginning. Any further questions?
Mayor, I do have a question for Chris.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Chris, at my pre-agenda meeting last evening, we have some folks in District 2 are very interested in fire stations around the city. And judging from the fact that this looks like we're going to take about 3.6 million, because we have an opportunity now. And by the way, I want to say congratulations to you, Chris. This is so much better than it could have been, and I think what people were expecting. So, as the mayor said, for finding the efficiencies and just doing a great job to get us through the fourth quarter, tremendous work product. So thank you. But with adding this 3.6 million to construct Fire Station 13, does it look like that we're looking at the last couple of stations now coming in at about 7.3 million? Because the last meeting we talked about 3.7, now plus 3.6. So are we actually looking at that as a total now for one station?
Yeah, Vice Mayor, and I think we always have. We're to the point where we're to the last station with the fire bond. It's Fire Station 13. There's 3.7 roughly $1 million left in fire bond funds, recognizing that we have to move to a temporary station and construct it, as well as demolish and rebuild Station 13. That station is still in design, so we don't have exact costs yet, but I remind us that we're building in Birch State Park and currently at an elevation that has to be raised. We did an appraisal of the building that's out there to see if there was any way to do renovations of the building. And as you know, once you do 50% plus one, you've substantially improved the building, and it requires it be raised to the new base flood elevation. So needless to say that that building out there is not in a condition that it can be renovated. And therefore, right now, we just have to go with the dollars that our consultants, our architects, and those that are costing the project are giving us for current construction costs for that project. Again, that's just one idea as a way to fund the final construction of Station 13 with these year-end investment type dollars. There's other projects that are equally as warranted, but at some point, in order to build Station 13, I do believe, and I believe we've always believed, at least for some time, that we were going to have to find an additional funding source to get that one built.
Okay, and you had mentioned consultant. Why do we keep using different consultants along the way for the different station projects?
I think that's just a function of procurement. Each one is competitively solicited, and those solicitations would have their own ranking and own merits and own costs associated with it. So it would just be a function of our procurement code.
Is there that institutional knowledge that is passed on? I mean, do they see what others have done before them and understand how that has happened prior to their coming on board?
They do. Certainly plans from prior stations are not secret. We have all of our fire stations seem to have the same design to them right now, and I can argue that that's both good and bad. But each one is really designed to function in the area it needs to function. I'd really hoped that Station 13 we were going to be able to build in a different location so we could continue to use the current station while the new one was under construction. And based upon the footprint in the state park, that just is not possible. So this last one before we get this fire bond closed out has a little bit of complexity to it to actually get it built.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And again, terrific work. In fact, it's really, to me, remarkable that all these funds that are impacted by COVID-19 are going to be projected to the end of the year in a positive position. So congratulations to you and to Laura and to all the staff. That really is a tremendous accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, there being none. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Not beyond what we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. So I'm good there. We do have the CRA meeting.
So
I have a question.
Concluded. Thank you very much.
Commissioner
everybody.
McKenzie has a
Let
question.
us now move into I'm sorry, Commissioner McKenzie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to just clarify something I asked a couple meetings ago, which was how much of this COVID loss will we be able to recapture from reimbursements from the federal government and state?
So we've recovered some thus far, and I believe, depending on the actions of our state and federal government, there may be additional funds. Susan Grant is the tracker of all of that for us. I'm going to ask Susan to come and talk about COVID reimbursement.
Sure. Good afternoon, commissioners and Chris. So we have actually filed for reimbursement. We have a sub-award agreement with Broward County that was allocating about $9.2 million for COVID expenses, such as public safety salaries, the cost of the testing sites, the cost of retrofitting the commission chambers and retrofitting city buildings, and also for PP&E. We have submitted reimbursements for those amounts to the county, and those are being processed currently. Any expenses that we weren't able to claim through the County CARES Act, we are accumulating and will be claiming with FEMA. And we would expect on those expenses about somewhere between 75 and 87.5% would be recovered.
Thank you.
Chris, just question, comment. One, thank you, Laura and Susan, the whole team. Great work financially to protect us and protect the people of Fort Lauderdale. So awesome work. Chris, how are we doing in terms of city staffing? Like, have we frozen any hiring for the moment? Give me a little update on that. How's our vacancy and so forth?
Yeah, so we certainly aren't holding frozen any mission critical positions. If it relates to one of our public safety departments, or as a water plant operator or wastewater treatment operator, or anything that is actually, providing those types of services where we have to deliver, those we are actively pursuing, keeping full. We have recreation programming, for example, in the Parks and Rec department. We're not doing a lot of recreation programming right now. So to the extent we have one of those positions vacant, we're not rushing out to staff it. And that was a lot of the part-time summer staffing that we would have in the Parks department, was to deliver programs over the summer, and we just didn't have those. So that's the type of position that we're keeping from hiring, and just keeping those dollars in the bank. So if it's, we look at general fund, we look at it on a position by position basis, and we talk about the merits. And if it is needed and necessary, we move forward. And if it's not, and we feel as though we can continue to deliver service and bring those services back when times are better, then we make that decision.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. And then Laura, I mean, in terms of our reserve balance, I'm just feel very good about that. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited that we were able to hit our target this year. A big part of that is because we did conservatively project, so we were able to add to fund balance instead of take from fund balance. So heading into, our first year where we haven't seen a COVID tax roll, it's a really good spot to be in, where, we're where we want to be going into a time that we're a little bit uncertain of. So, thanks to Chris for his leadership, and you guys for your support. It's really appreciated.
Great. All right. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Mayor. That's it.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so let us move into the CRA meeting, and I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Moritas?
Here.
Vice Chair Glassman?
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Here.
Chair Trentalis?
Yes, here. So we have a couple of items of business here. First is M1, motion approving the minutes for December 2nd, 2020 of the Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Mayor, I have an amendment.
All right, first, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
On page 1 under roll call, I think we need to correct that whole paragraph. Very little of it is actually accurate.
Mayor, it's a cut and paste from regular, so we'll fix that. We just cut and paste the wrong one in there.
So what do we have to correct?
We just have to correct who was physically present and someone joining the meeting, but we're on top.
Right, and times.
Right.
Okay, so that.
Well, if we can just bring that back to the next meeting corrected that way.
Why don't we do that?
We don't have to.
So we'll defer the motion until our next meeting.
Right, and I'm not sure, also, Jeff, on the last page, page 4, announcement, I'm not sure if Chris did that at the CRA meeting. Maybe he did, but I'm not exactly sure about the forthcoming shade meeting. Did he do that?
I believe the shade was after the CRA.
Right, so that needs to be deleted also.
We did the shade after the conference. No, we opened conference. So that would read correct on page 4.
Yeah, but we'll bring it back to you. We'll look at that.
Okay, thank you. I'm okay, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. M2, motion approving funding request for Omegas in Broward, Inc., 1108 Sistrunk Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, $225,000 property and business improvement program grant, and $125,000 commercial facade improvement program. These are forgivable loans, I understand. Any questions on this?
I do, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at it approximately, I'm sorry?
We will.
Thank you. I know you will. Start writing. Okay, so this is approximately a $400,000 project. And with these two loans, we'll be supplying about 350,000 of that 400,000.
340.
Excuse me?
350, correct. You're right.
Yes. So I just want to get a little bit more of a sense of, number one, I know it's a for-profit corporation, so I want to get a little bit more of a sense of community programs and exactly how this organization will be servicing the community. And I see categories, but I don't really see a lot. And then I also had a question, because I know that with the money that the CRA will be supplying, that we're looking to see a business and event center there that will be rented out. So I don't know what the legalities are, but if the city is supplying 350,000 of the 400,000, are we able to have any revenues coming from any of those rentals, or is that not permitted? And then my last question is, it looks like the organization is located on Sistrum, so I was wondering why the property appraiser's attachment, which is Exhibit 2, lists the address as 3007 West Commercial Boulevard. And those are my questions, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Clarence, you want to respond to those?
Hello? Okay.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and Manager. As far as the use of the building and the activities that the Omegas in Broward undertake, they're a service organization, and they undertake many different service type events, such as the primary objective of the manager is the high school essay contest. They have Achievement Week. They provide college scholarships. The organization also participates in activities to benefit the community, such as youth mentoring, fatherhood mentoring, assault on illiteracy, read-ins, local elementary school blood drives, voter registration, all of those different type of service type of activities. With respect to the second question, as a part of our community benefits, what we typically ask for when we have projects like this, where there's going to be some engagement with the community, what we'll ask for is that they lower the price to those who are looking to rent their space in order to provide a community benefit. So if they're leasing the space for some activity for someone in the community, instead of it being $1,000, it would be $700. So those are the type of community benefits that we typically ask for, and not necessarily ask for a percentage of their profits. So, but we've not asked that of any other organizations that come in and ask for, funding, but it's certainly up to the board to direct us in that wise. And the last question was regarding the address. The address is the 3000 Commercial Boulevard address is the address of the registered agent. It's not the address of the actual building that's being renovated, but it's the address of the registered agent, which is the fraternity.
Okay.
Thank you, Clarence. Clarence, I have one more question. It's about the minutes that were provided as Exhibit 10 on the backup here.
Mhm.
Okay, so the minutes that we're being provided with are the draft minutes from November 10th, 2020. That's what it says on the front page, first page of the minutes from the CRA board. But then if you go to page 2 and every other page, it says October 13th, 2020. It doesn't say November 10th, 2020. So that doesn't make any sense to me. If you could help me understand that. And then also why, typically in the minutes, there's usually a good discussion, some back and forth about the project. There's absolutely no discussion of this project at all. It's simply a motion and a vote, and that's it. Was there absolutely no discussion on this item at the board? That's the second question, and then if you could help me understand why the minutes say November 10th, but then everywhere else say the meeting minutes of October 13th.
Well, again, I think this is probably an excerpt from the actual meeting minutes. Yes, there were conversations regarding the project. I'm not exactly sure. It was on November. It was the November meeting. It was the November meeting again. So this is probably just excerpts from the actual minutes. And
if you look at the top of every page of the 4 pages of minutes, they all say Northwest Progressive CRA Board, October 13th, 2020, not November 10th.
So what you're looking at are minutes from a project that we brought last time that actually was cut and pasted into this. BH3 is a project that we brought at the last board meeting. That is not this Omega and Broward item.
So the minutes that I'm reading, the funding, well, it says 1108 Sistrunk Boulevard, and the amounts are right. It says Omegas and Broward. Item number 5, Roman numeral 5.
Yeah, but that's page 2.
No, page 3.
Well,
let me jump in for a second, Clarence. So I think, Vice Mayor, what that is that's just a header that has not been updated to reflect the correct date.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, so, but what is Clarence telling me that this is a different item?
The one for BH, the one on page 2 is BH3, which was done.
No, no, go to page 3.
So page 3 is the correct item. This is the correct item. But again, like the manager said, the header hadn't been changed.
The header's wrong. Okay.
Right.
So, but what about what you said? Was there discussion of this at all, or was it just motion to approve and that's it? No discussion.
No, there was discussion. And
okay, because I find it helpful to read the minutes and read the discussion of the advisory boards. I mean, after all, that's why they're there. They're there to advise, and I find it helpful to read. But there was nothing here to read, so that's just my comment. Thank you.
We can get you the minutes that did involve the discussion of the items, Vice Mayor. We can get that for you.
I would find that helpful. Because this was not, these minutes were not helpful. So that's all for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple people that have signed up to speak. I believe they're here to answer questions. They're on behalf of the applicant. We have Anthony Wright. Mr. Wright, are you on the line? Mr. Wright.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Did you want to add anything to the discussion?
I didn't hear you, Mayor.
Did you want to add anything to the discussion that has just ensued?
No, I didn't. I just really signed up to be able to answer any questions that would be asked of me.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Wright? Okay. Hold on there, Mr. Wright. Don't go away. Anson Stewart, are you also connected with Omegas and Broward?
Mayor, I do not see that name.
You don't see that name? Okay. All right. So the way I see this is it looks like it's just a community center that's going to be owned by this organization. I know it's a for-profit entity, but honestly, I can't imagine it making a profit here. It reminds me a little bit of when my uncle used to go to the Elks Club or the American Legion. It's just a kind of a place for people to host events, and it's a community center of sorts for that part of the city. These programs that Mr. Woods explained, I don't see them taking the entire time, the entire space, month after month. So I assume they're going to open it up to the community to be able to host events and meetings. We're just contributing the money to make this happen. Does anyone see this any differently than what I've just envisioned? All right, so does anyone want to make a motion with regard to this item?
I would actually like to read the minutes. I'd actually, unless this is a pressing issue, I'd love to see it deferred so that I could actually read what the advisory board had to say.
Okay. Is that a motion to defer?
I will move to defer. Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to defer this until we have the backups to see what the discussion was at the advisory board level, since it's not been part of the packet. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? First of all, is there a second to that? I don't hear a second, Vice Mayor.
That's okay.
Okay, so does someone want to move the item?
I'll move it.
So Commissioner Sorensen has moved the item. Do I hear a second? It would have to come from you, Commissioner Moritas, because I think Commissioner McKenzie is recusing himself.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Sorensen. We have a second by Commissioner Moritas. Okay, any further discussion on the item? Okay, there being none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
No.
Commissioner McKenzie.
He can't.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay. Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and the item is approved. Is there any further business of the CRA board?
There is not.
There being none, meeting adjourned. See you at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.